Oh, good.
Good evening. We are going to call the regular October meeting of the Verona Zoning Board of Adjustment to order at 7:34 p.m. If you would, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please read the notice of this meeting and call the roll?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township of Verona Board of Adjustment, which is being held in person in the ballroom of the Verona Community Center located at 880 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona. The time and date of this meeting were included in the annual meeting notice posted in the Community Center and sent to the official newspaper of the Township. The Verona Cedar Grove Times at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time. All meetings are recorded. Those wishing to speak during any public comment period should only provide their name and municipality. Street addresses are not required. Please be advised that should a member of the public choose to state their street address, it will not be redacted from this recording. Mr. Tully?
Here.
Dr. Rees? Here. Dr. Cortez?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mrs. Murphy Braddix?
Here.
Mr. Mathewson?
Here.
Mrs. DiBartolo?
Here.
Vice Chair Weston?
Here.
Chair McGinley?
Here.
Attorney Massara?
Here.
Ms. Tanware?
Here.
Ms. Mish?
Here.
Start with some general information. This board deals with the issuance of variances from the Verona zoning ordinance. That ordinance establishes specific requirements for the land area in the township and regulates not only the uses permitted, but the size of lots, setbacks required, parking, signs, conditional uses, and numerous other such regulations. An applicant is never entitled to a variance. Applicants must meet specific criteria contained in the state municipal land use law by satisfying certain legal standards of proof. The burden is on the applicants to show that they should be granted the specific relief requested. Depending on the type of variance requested, applicants will need to prove special reasons, undue hardship, a balance of benefits, and other criteria. These are legal proceedings. Public meeting notices have been published. Neighbors have been notified. Applicants and their representatives will provide sworn testimony and be subject to cross-examination. Any action this board takes at this meeting will be memorialized in a resolution document prepared by our legal counsel that will be reviewed and adopted typically at our next regular meeting. At that time, any variances granted will become effective. That said, we are a board that conducts its business in a fairly informal manner. Applicants are sworn in, tell us what they want to do with their property and what they are asking the board to do. Board members will question witnesses, and then members of the public may question those witnesses. At the conclusion of the testimony, members of the public may make a statement regarding the application. After closing the public portion of the application, the board will deliberate and render a decision. We are now at item E on the agenda, the approval of minutes. Hopefully everyone on the board has had an opportunity to review the minutes from our regular meeting of September 18th, 2025. They were lengthy and detailed.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay. Got them? 2 abstentions.
2 abstentions.
All right, that takes us through minutes. Resolutions. We have one resolution, application 2025-07, 2 Ballston Drive. This would be the 6-foot metal fence on the front of a corner property.
Make a motion to approve that resolution, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Same duo. Good. That gets us through resolutions and brings us up to new business. Under new business, we will be looking at application 2025-04, 271 Grove Avenue. This is carried from the July 10th meeting where there was no testimony heard.
Mr. Chairman, the application is ready to proceed. Notice is proper, and all is in order.
Good. Thank you, Counselor. Okay, we have Mrs. DiBartolo is recusing herself from this application. Mr. Tremblay, it's yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Alan Trembulac. We're back again this evening, appearing on behalf of the Compound Fitness LLC. This application involves a small portion of the property located at 271 Grove Avenue, which, as you know, is the Webster Commons Business Park, which is comprised of a number of buildings, mostly office-related buildings, medical as well. So my client, the Compound Fitness LLC, owns and operates the Compound Fitness Center, which currently occupies about 2,100 square feet of one of the buildings, as I said, in this business park. Property is located in the C2 Professional Office and Business Zone. My clients operated this business for the last 5 years, beginning in September of 2020. And the business is essentially a training studio with both personal training and group training, as well as there's a yoga component to the business as well. And my client will get into that in detail. It's important to point out, again, my client took possession in September of 2020. About 6 months later, made an application to the zoning officer for a zoning permit to construct a small coffee bar within their existing space. That application was reviewed and approved by Michael DiCarlo, who was the township zoning officer at that time, based upon his conclusion that the fitness center was, in his view, a commercial school and was therefore a permitted use in the zoning district, and that the coffee bar was an accessory use to the permitted use of the fitness center. He rendered a written opinion to that effect in April of 2021. So fast forward about 4 years of operating this business and growing the business and spending a lot of time, money, and energy in this business. My client needed room to expand. They entered into a lease with the landlord to take an additional 1,400 square foot adjacent to their existing space. The purpose of the expansion was to provide additional space for their business. which was rather cramped with no room for storage, no office space, et cetera. The plans were, building permit application was submitted for the additional 1,400 square feet of space, was reviewed by your current zoning officer, Kathleen, and who denied the request for the expansion because, in her view, she took a different interpretation of the ordinance, and it was her opinion, contrary to Mr. DiCarlo's opinion, that the use as a fitness center was not permitted in the zoning district, in this zoning district. In her opinion, this was a commercial recreation facility, not a commercial school, and therefore not permitted in the zone. Needless to say, her opinion, which I respect, was completely at odds with Mr. DiCarlo's opinion, which my client had relied upon for the last 4 years in growing the business to the point where they needed to expand, and naturally assumed that it shouldn't be a problem, and then found out that it was, based upon Kathleen's interpretation of the ordinance. So since, the use was not permitted, she denied the permit application, and we filed this and that's what brings us here tonight. We filed this application, which was a twofold application. We filed an appeal from the administrative officer's, the zoning officer's opinion, asking the board to overrule that opinion. And alternatively, and what we're going to focus on tonight, is we've applied for a D2 variance to expand the non-conforming use to include the additional 1,400 square feet of space. I should note that Kathleen, in her opinion, in which she determined that the use was not permitted, she did indicate that she didn't identify any other variances that were needed, that there was adequate parking for the use, and that the only variance that was required was the variance to expand the business into the adjoining 1,400 square foot of space. So that's what we're here for tonight. I have two witnesses to present. My first witness will be my client, Danielle Kermizian, who's the owner of the business, and then we have a professional planner, William Stimmel, who will testify in support of the variance that we're seeking. So, having said that, unless the board has any questions for me at this time, I would ask that Danielle Kermizian be sworn. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are.
Okay.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
You state your full name and address for the record, please.
Danielle Kermizian, 287 Roseland Avenue, Essex Fells, New Jersey.
Danielle, are you one of the owners of the Compound Fitness LLC?
Yes.
All right. And does that company, own and operate the Compound Fitness Center at 271 Grove Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you operated the business at that location?
September of 2020.
Okay. And as I've already indicated, the business is located within the Webster Commons Business Park?
Correct.
Okay. And that park has a number of different buildings, correct?
Yes.
Which is the building number or letter number that you're...
We're technically a combined space. I think it's C1 and C2.
Okay. Do you know what business was operating in the space in which you're operating now prior to you taking possession of the space?
Yes.
What was it?
Well, right before us was the Vatstu Yoga Studio. And prior to that was a number of other yoga studios and fitness studios,
Okay.
which we have them all listed somewhere.
Okay. Before you took possession in 2020, did you contact anyone from the town of Verona to inquire regarding the zoning for the property and whether your use was permitted?
Didn't think I had to with the current uses that were there, so no.
Okay. And did you sign a 5-year lease for the space in 2020?
Yes.
Okay. And am I correct that the size of the space is I think the actual number is 2,184 square feet.
Yes.
Okay. Were any interior improvements done to the space before you took possession in September 2020?
Before we moved in?
Before you, yeah. Or did you take the space as it was?
We took the space as is and just, did our gym stuff and paint and cosmetic, very minor stuff.
Okay. All right. So I'd like you to describe for the board the business that is conducted by the Compound Fitness Center.
Yes, so the Compound Fitness is an extension of my husband's former business, which was the Lab at Living, or the Lab, sorry, that was our former Living Fit, I know. We were actually called the Lab at Living Fit prior to the compound, but neither here nor there. It's a high-end personal training studio, intimate, meaning that there's only one-on-one personal training or small group, which is, 2-3 people with a trainer. So it's instruction-based only. You cannot, train or work out there without being with a client. And then a client must be with a trainer. Everything is prearranged, pre-booked prior to coming in. It's not an open booking system. It's a very, correlated system that is done just trainer to client. And then we have a handful of small group classes that we instruct there as well. Generally speaking, it's only one a day because the training floor is utilized primarily just for personal training, and we don't have the space to accommodate, even our small group classes. So it's mostly personal training.
Okay. So it's not like a gym or other fitness centers that have a lot of exercise equipment where people just come in and get on a treadmill or a rowing machine or something.
No, you can't do that here. The only exception to that rule is we open up our gym after hours to the Verona Police Department, providing them with a place to work out for free.
What kind of equipment, if any, do you even have in this space?
We don't have a lot of equipment. We're not, we're not a gym. We don't have treadmills and machines and circuits. It's mostly free weights and everything that's organized on, dumbbell racks. We do have a couple cable machines, which is really like a built-in, it's not stations like a gym. It's one rower, one treadmill, and one bike. That's it.
Okay. And it's largely, as you said, one-on-one training or small groups, right?
Very small groups, mostly just one-on-one.
And what are the hours of operation? Let's do weekdays and then weekends.
Some of our trainers start as early as like 5, 6 a.m., mostly during the week, and can go until, the evening hours, 5, 6 p.m., all the way till, 7, 8, depending on the day or the trainer. So really early morning until the evening. And then on the weekends, it's generally, again, 7 a.m. till early afternoon on the weekends, depending on the trainer schedule.
Okay.
We don't advertise the gym hours because it's not a public gym.
Okay. And is there a yoga component to the business?
The yoga component is Verona Yoga, who was essentially thrown out of their space and did not have a home. And being the people that we are, we met with them and opened up our doors to be able to help accommodate a couple classes a week for them, because I'm sure, as you guys know, they were in the former Palmetto venue space, and the landlord basically kicked them out with nowhere to go. And I have a lot of respect for Donna and Lisa and the business that they've built. And, we kind of opened our doors to be able to accommodate a couple yoga classes. Unfortunately, we're not able to do much because we can barely do our own classes. We actually gave up some of our own classes to give them space. But like I said, our training floor, we only have one, and it's primarily used for personal training for our clients and our trainers. So we do have a few Verona yoga classes a week.
Okay. And when do those yoga classes typically take place?
Right now, we can only offer them one evening class, and then our trainers just work around that class. They'll work before or after. So during the week, they have one evening, and then they have one class on Sunday, because that's all we can accommodate at the moment.
And what time is the evening class?
Monday through Thursday, I think they do is, like a 6 or a 7 p.m. start, just an hour.
Okay. And are there any other scheduled group classes or sessions that take place on a weekday?
Just our own classes. And Verona Yoga, to clarify, has to be run through the compound simply because it's, liability purposes, but it says Verona Yoga, that's their class, and then we have our own group fitness classes. We have one every morning.
All right, that's what I'm getting at. So you said you have one class each morning,
One group fitness class offered every morning,
and
around 9:30 in the morning.
and how many people typically attend that class?
I mean, Brian had like 7 or 8 in his class today. I mean, I would say anywhere between 5 or 6 on a quieter day to 15 at the most.
Okay.
That's all we can accommodate space-wise, so
So you have.
on average, 8 to 10.
Okay. So you have this group class in the morning, you have the group yoga session around 6 o'clock. What takes place between, in the interim between those two group sessions?
The training floor is utilized before the morning class and then after all day, and in the evening before and after yoga, just for personal training clients. So the small group would be, a 2-person max, 2, sometimes 3, and one-on-one training with a client and a trainer. That's it.
And if there are multiple training sessions scheduled for any particular time, where do they take place? Are they taking place in the same room?
There's multiple. We have 6 trainers, so they're all taking place in the same room, and at any given time, everybody can be there at once, which is difficult. But on average, there's at least 3 or 4 trainers all day in that room all day long with, 1 client or 2 clients.
And that's the only training room you currently have? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other yoga classes other than the nightly sessions that
No.
you mentioned?
No.
And I think you said maybe one on the weekend?
Yeah, just on the Sunday.
Okay. All right. How many employees do you have working at the training studio?
We have, yeah.
Employees, and I guess you have independent contractors?
Yeah, independent.
Explain
They're all full-time. I mean, they're with us full-time, but the way that it's, payrolled out as a 1099 as an independent contractor. So we have 6, not including Brian, myself.
that. All right, so it's you and Brian, and then 6 other trainers, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not I
I
teach and train, but I run the business. So total trainers, there's 6.
Okay. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk in a minute about the coffee bar. Are there any employees that work in the coffee bar?
Yes, we have 5.
Okay. Not working at the same time, I'm guessing.
No,
Okay.
no.
Do you know what the total number of clients or members, I guess you don't have members, but,
Clients, members.
How many?
There's a
Full
couple,
total.
probably a couple hundred, maybe active, people sometimes come and go, but I mean, there's a lot of people that have been here for a long time, pre-compound and since we opened. So I would say probably 250 to 350 active members.
Okay.
And that's, of every person's book of clients.
Would you I don't know if this is a fair question or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Would you be able to estimate the average number of clients coming in on a given weekday, for training sessions or?
I would say the busier trainers probably have, there's only so many hours in the day. I would say if you take, the 4 busiest trainers that we have are there with, 8 to 12 clients a day, maybe on average, somewhere around that. So I would say, and then you take a couple people for class, I would say, 50 to 60 people I think would be a fair number of coming in and out.
Okay. Now, I mentioned a minute ago, a coffee bar. You have a coffee bar as part of these
Yes.
fitness centers, correct?
Mhm.
And that's roughly 88 square feet, I believe, the area
Yeah,
that's
it's
occupied by that?
small. I mean, it's a coffee and a smoothie bar, which is really what it started out as. We had packaged smoothies and juices and things, cold brew things that we would just have for our members, and that's what evolved to what it is today.
Okay. And when did you add the coffee bar? Do you remember?
When we got the permission, and I would say it was summer of 2021.
Okay. I'm going to show you a document. Well, before I do that, did you or anyone on your behalf contact the town of Verona to inquire whether the coffee bar was permitted and
Yes.
that you could operate it at this location?
Yes, of course.
And who did you?
Mike DiCarlo, the head of zoning.
Okay. And he issued a letter, which I'm going to show you, if you can identify this, April 27, 2021. Is that the letter you received from him?
Yeah.
Indicating that, in his opinion, it was permitted?
Yes.
Okay. I have copies of this. I'd like to have this marked A1, I guess, Greg?
Yes, please.
And, make copies for everyone.
That is a letter from Mr.
It's Mr. DiCarlo's letter, April 27, 2021. Okay, and okay, so you've been operating, you've been operated this business, the training studio with the coffee bar continuously since April of 1921, which would include the coffee bar.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, so and the reason we're here tonight is because you're seeking to expand the size of your space to include an additional 1,400 square feet. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and have you already signed a lease with the landlord to take that additional space?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to the board why it is that you need more space, why you're seeking to expand the space that the business occupies?
Yes, I think I made it kind of clear that we have several trainers that we've acquired over the years that are dedicated and valuable employees and huge parts of what the compound is. And we're very tight. We don't have space. The extension, we've been, kind of hounding our landlords for years, to see if there was anything available or anyone not renewing their lease so that we could expand so we have more gym floor. Quite frankly, with 3 of our busiest trainers, we could use the gym expansion. And I say gym because it's just a general word, but it's a training floor, and we are not a public gym, obviously, but we could use that with our 3 busiest trainers, let alone the 6 that we have that are working, 75% of the day together. So we, in addition to the training space, we desperately need an office, a storage area, a place for our staff to put all their belongings, a break room type of room, which is an office that we were gaining. And majority of that space is for the training floor. The 1,400, I would say, almost 1,000 of that is the training floor. And then we were seeking to add a little wellness component, which is obviously in the plans, of just a small intimate sauna room and, shower place for our, members to shower and get dressed after they're done working out if they would like, which makes up a very small portion of this. But the primary purpose is to seek more space for our trainers and our staff.
Okay. And you're familiar, I'm sure, with the floor plans that were prepared for this expansion space by Giuseppe Barbario,
Yes.
the architect. And those are submitted to the board with the application. And again, you've already addressed this, but I just want to like walk through the floor plans and just ask you to elaborate a little more. So the biggest chunk of the space is a second training studio.
Right. When you walk into our gym, if you walk through the back of our current training floor space, it would open up to the space directly behind us. And that entire space, 75% of it would be an extension to our current training floor. That would primarily be used, there would be no equipment. It would be also used for some classes, but the bulk part of the day would be utilized for training clients
Okay.
as just basically floor space with, some free weights and mats.
All right. And you say the floor plan contemplates some office space, which you currently have none?
We don't have an office and we don't have any storage.
Okay.
So we did gain several storage areas, even an area for washer and dryer. So, we can wash even just sweaty gym towels and, things that we need to wash, which is basically the storage area, and then an office, which is an area that will, house all of our belongings, lockers for the staff, and a place for us to work.
Okay. I see there's a space that's marked studio/classes.
Yeah, that would be the extension space. That's studio. It's a studio. It's an empty room
Okay.
with gym flooring for classes and for personal training. I mean, we don't have that many classes, so it would be utilized for the training floor because our trainers are tight.
Okay. And then you mentioned that you're proposing to add what you refer to as a wellness area.
Yeah,
Explain what that is. And
we are just big believers in health and wellness, and that's why the compound is here. And Brian and I are both very big believers in the use of sauna and the long-term health benefits to that. So it's a small concept. It's not a big space, but it's something that we wanted to introduce to our members. And that's, if you train and you're a client with our compound, gym, you can utilize that aspect before or after, mostly after your training. And with that, sauna space is really just the shower area that we really don't have right now. So that would be one of the most important things.
okay. And as part of that is more a curiosity because it's the first time I've heard of it, but I've since learned a little bit more. But there's a cold plunge.
Yeah, I mean, it's a single barrel. It's not even something that we were 100% on, to be fully transparent, but it's something that we had there. It's a very, everyone's probably heard of it and seen things. Brian and I are, like I said, very big into health and wellness, and I don't see the benefits as much to a cold plunge as I do to a dry sauna. But if we have the space and we were able to make that work, we would. But the priority there would have been the shower that we don't have, and, eventually, hopefully, a sauna space.
Okay. All right. So from what you're saying to me, from what I'm hearing, is that you're not, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not seeking to change or expand the services that you currently provide in your existing space. That's not the reason you're expanding. You just.
No, we are just completely maxed out on space, and anyone that's been there can tell you that. I mean, a 4-year-old can tell you that it's extremely tight in there with just half of our training staff, let alone the full training staff.
Okay. Okay. So it's just to provide more space.
Just more space, more
Other things.
storage,
Right.
space. Just,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So after you signed the lease, was an application for building permit submitted to the town?
Yes, as far as I'm aware. I mean, obviously, I don't own the building, so I didn't submit that. But yes, from what we know, obviously, everything was submitted to the town.
All right. And the improvements that needed to be made were to be made by the landlord, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And the landlord applied for building permits.
Correct.
And we wouldn't be here but for the fact that the application for the permits was denied. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, are you aware that work was done, improperly done before any permits were issued for the new space?
Yes.
Okay, and who was responsible for performing that work?
Well, the owners of the building, I don't own the building, so
Okay.
I can't make that a authority.
All right, but you didn't do you weren't doing the
No,
work.
I don't know.
And do you know if the owners were cited and paid any fines or penalties for doing work without permits?
I'm pretty sure they were, and I'm pretty sure they did.
Okay. I think that's all I have at this time, Mr. Chairman.
That was a lot to cover. A lot to cover, Mr. Trembleak.
Okay, well,
The space that you're looking to go into, what was it being used previously?
It was a frequency, like healing center space that, private space that the former tenants had for several years. It was called, Full Spectrum.
Question on the coffee bar. Is it only used for the employees and the members at the
No.
training
I
center?
mean, obviously, people can go there, you know. It's not just exclusively for the
Is there
members.
tables and chairs set up for the coffee bar?
Yes. Well, not at the coffee bar, but there's
But
tables there,
for
which
the
half of our
people
staff
buy.
use throughout the day because we have no space, but yes,
One of the conditions of the original approval was no table and chairs,
outside.
outside or inside. And then, is there specific signage for the coffee bar?
There's a sign that says the compound on the front side and an awning, which obviously you're aware of, that says the compound, and it has a coffee mug on it and might say Coffee Co.
Does that also is, per the original conditions, said no advertising of the coffee bar?
I mean, that's been there for 4 years. I mean, Mike was, I didn't see that. That's on the original? Mike?
That's a document you just sent.
yeah, we received this letter today from Kathleen, and which raised some issues that we weren't previously aware of, and the sign is one of them. You know, how long has the sign been in place?
4.5 years. Yeah, 4.5 years.
And this is the
I mean, it says, it's the compound on it, and below it says coffee at the below, obviously, and I mean, it's,
Okay.
It's been there.
And no one, has anyone previously, until you saw this letter that we received today, did anyone tell you that
No.
sign was?
no, of course not.
Okay.
And the zoning officer before had been
But it's
to our
clear that-
location many times.
Yeah, I mean, typically, if you have an accessory use, it would only be for the people in that building. It wouldn't be opening up a separate business for that. So you would only have the juice and the coffee for the people at the gym or the training facility.
I mean, look, we're aware of the issue, Mr. Tully, and it's clear that it was not permitted under Mr. DiCarlo's letter. The sign's been there quite a while. I mean, we would ask for the board to, grant the variance to permit the awning sign to remain as is, or alternatively, we would be prepared to reduce the amount of signage on that to comport with the general sign ordinance that requires that for an awning sign, that you only have 10 inches of lettering at the lowest point of the awning.
It really just says the compound, and the coffee is a very small part underneath. So if it said the compound, would it be an issue? If it was just the compound? I'm actually asking. I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I don't know, we'd have to discuss.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to follow up on that point. Since it's actually in Mr. Trembleak, the exhibit that you submitted, A1, but under the conditions of approval
Yes.
about the signage. So I guess I'm going to say, I don't think you can have it both ways. You're basing the original approval on Mr. DiCarlo's decision that it had a different connotation other than a gym. It's a school, am I correct in that?
His opinion was that it was a commercial school.
Okay, and not a gym, basically.
It's clearly not.
We're not a gym.
Okay, okay. And to the point that Mr. Tully just made, it does say in there, you know, that these signage should not have been approved. So to come back now and say, well, we put it in there and nobody enforced the, you know, the condition, you know, it's a little disingenuous, I think, at this point, if you're going to, you know, I mean, that's just something I guess we'd have to consider.
This is the first time I'm seeing anything regarding the signage.
Clearly
So-
should not have been done based upon
Okay.
Mr. Carlo's letter. I don't think my client, you know, was aware of that. She should have been. Clearly, we had the letter. But again, it's there.
Okay.
We're asking the board for relief to allow it to remain, or for us to reduce the amount of signage so that it simply says the compound with no reference to coffee, and because the business is the compound. So
Okay. No, but it does, you know, once again, I get your point. He approved it, and, you know, in good faith, your client went ahead and opened the business, and, you know, that certainly should bear a lot of weight on this board.
Yeah.
But by the same token, I don't think you can pick and choose which parts of it that you want to highlight and which parts are, you know, we should ignore. That's all.
No, I'm not asking you
Okay,
to ignore
all
it.
right.
Now that it's come to light, you know, we're asking for the
Okay.
board to, you know, grant the variance to allow it to remain,
Okay.
or not.
Can you confirm that your intent with the additional spaces to operate the compound as it is now with the membership and trainers with clients? And not
That's
open?
the only, I mean, that's truthfully, that's the only, it's on the plans. It's the only part. There's nothing pertaining to the coffee set. There's nothing else to do other than get more space for the business.
But the business is going to remain kind of as is. with
Exactly
its
the same.
Trainer and clients.
Exactly the same.
Hours of operation.
Hours of operation. We're not even getting equipment for that room. It's just an empty room for a studio. You know, we just need more floor space.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a
Sure,
another question?
Kevin.
If I understood correctly, and I was, you know, Mr. Chairman gave us a lot of information there, so I just want to clarify that I understood it correctly. You signed the lease to obtain the additional space when? Can you tell me that again?
In February of this year, earlier this year, I think.
And have you used, since you've had it since February, have you used this, how have you used that?
We don't have a key. We don't have any access to that space. We just agreed to take the vacant space as tenants, but we're not allowed in there, or we have nothing, we can't do anything until we're able to use the space. We can't use it, obviously, so we do not have access to it.
Were you aware that the space, if you didn't, it may have been used for other events?
Which
The
space?
space that you leased, you know.
Are you talking about the new space that we're trying to get?
The new space, yeah.
The new space. The new space is a concrete hole. What do you mean? I'm sorry, I'm not
It's
understanding.
directly in back of your current space. I'm just trying to get the correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you've been paying rent, I guess, on that since?
No.
Oh, okay, you just signed,
We signed a lease
Contingent
agreeing to
upon
take the
approval.
space contingent upon approval of the space. So we don't have keys, we don't pay for it until we,
okay. So, I mean, so you're not out any money yet? for this?
no.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, no.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
Who owns the tables and chairs that are outside?
The tables and chairs that are outside of the compound,
Yes.
we do.
Okay. Do you lease that space,
Do I lease the space?
the outdoor space?
Yes, what do you mean, do I lease the outdoor space?
Well, you lease your portion of the building.
Correct.
Do you lease the sidewalk and the outdoor space?
It's not on a sidewalk, it's an actual pavilion that comes with our space. It's not anyone else's use in the building, if that's what you're asking.
I mean, I was asking if it was common space.
No, it's not common space, it's our space. You can ask the owner, he's here.
I'd have to. It doesn't show up on any of your drawings.
Which drawings? I'm sorry, I'm confused. You're talking about the new drawings? For the expansion?
Or the, existing outdoor seating.
Right on the floor plan, it says existing outdoor seating, right on the plan here. Page,
It's on the second page of the
Two.
architect's plans, where the demolition floor plan.
A3? Okay. This is part of your space, you're paying that.
right, we do, it's all included
Okay.
in our rent.
Yeah. The one that she just gave me tonight.
Okay. That's fine. We should have printed that.
Chairman, another quick question. Have you ever rented your space out for private events?
Yes.
Okay. Could describe what kind of events they might be?
Yes, we have done a lot of, well, mostly a lot of wellness events. We've done a lot of, not a lot, but over the last 5 years, we would do some small scale networking. You know, even our neighbors, Vanguard, would ask if they could come for like a little meeting just to change up the scenery. It's not a rental space. We're there. We've had people hold, you know, prenatal yoga courses, sound bath energy readings, things like that. You know, some of our own staff, including myself, has had, you know, my daughter's first birthday there. You know, smaller scale things, few and far between. But yes, one of our biggest things that we do that's advertised to the entire town is our townwide toy drive in Christmas time during the holidays, where we collect toys for children in the hospital with cancer, and we have an event that day that supports local businesses, you know, things like that. Verona fire trucks, police, everybody, community-driven events like that. We're not an event space that does, you know, weddings.
This coffee window that's in the photo right here, is that open to anybody in the community who wants to come and get coffee? It looks like a drive-through.
It's not a drive-through.
It's not a drive-through.
Correct.
But it does give that appearance, and I didn't have a minute to go over and look at it.
Yeah, no, it is actually, it's a pickup window, and the best part about it for the people that live and care about Verona is that people just from the neighborhood or people from like the complex, like Vanguard, all their staff can just come down and grab, a smoothie or a coffee from that window. That's what the window's there for, just to walk up without having to come inside. Just a different access point.
Is that considered another business then underneath your roof?
It's definitely not considered another business. It's the same. How would that be another business? Just a different way of ordering. It's the same person there that's taking the order.
But the people coming up are not necessarily clients of your operation.
Well, I said that earlier when you guys asked. Somebody had asked if there's other people that are besides clients. I mean, the bulk of our business is our clients and our people that come to the gym every single day. But do other people come there? Yes. I mean, some people do wander there. We're expanding, or we're requesting an expansion on our training studio, not an expansion on the coffee.
That would be the space that's labeled cafe on the sheet,
Which
sheet 3, A3.
the coffee space is not changing at all in the plans, and it's not getting larger or cafe service area is exact same blueprint size that we have right now. Like the room is the exact same.
Yeah, I had a question about that. When you said that the coffee bar is 88 square feet, is that the dimension of the room that it's in?
I think if you're referring to Mike DiCarlo's 88 when he wrote that, I think that's the bar that we actually put in. It's a very small bar.
So that's not the size, that's not the room, that's just.
No, I think from what I saw today when I reread that, or Kathleen's letter that she sent over, it said the 88 square foot, which is the size of the actual bar. It's very small. Not the room. That room is small, but it's not 88 square feet. Yeah, the service bar is 88 square feet, the actual bar in the room.
Okay.
Is it safe to say that that entire corner is dedicated to the coffee bar?
The corner that we have that's currently in the space is the same corner on the actual space. That is not changing.
But that entire area is dedicated to the coffee bar.
That's where our clients and everybody come and check in, and there's a coffee bar there where you can order coffee or drinks. That area is not changing in size.
It's okay. He doesn't know. It's okay. It's okay.
I know you mentioned that the parking, you're saying it meets, with this new use, it meets for the whole complex? The parking is adequate for the entire complex?
I believe, yes. Yes. That's my understanding.
Will you have a witness who can address that?
No, I'm relying upon Kathleen's letter, in which she stated, this is her,
It's the initial resolution for the entire complex that covers the parking.
Do we know how many spaces that is per seat? Be nice, it's like,
There, I have this, it may be in another file, Mr. Chairman, because this came up in connection with another issue related to the business park, but there was a site plan approval, I think it goes back to maybe as early as 1988, that approved a certain number of parking spaces for the entire park. And again, I have that, but
I seem to recall seeing one when we reviewed the daycare center. That
may have been.
they had a plan.
Yeah, but there was a site plan approval. There was a plan, the site plan was prepared by Mike Petrie's office at the time, and I forget the number of spaces, but what I was referring to was Kathleen's letter in which she
That does say
denied
14.
the expansion, but pointed out that there was adequate parking based upon, and that no other variances were required, except the variance we're seeking to expand the use.
I have the resolution, it's from 1997, so I can find, but that the parking was covered in this resolution in 1997. Because we did, I think Mr. Trembleck and I had discussed it on a different matter where the parking could not be.
If I recall, it's like blanket approval, is that correct? So it's not per unit or it was blanket approval for the complex?
It's a blanket approval for the complex, and then the landlord does say X number of spaces go to each tenant, but the spaces are also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the spaces are not dedicated in the lot. The lot is just open, but it's a blanket covered in the original resolution from 1997.
I found what I was looking for. I mean, I don't have the total number of required parking spaces, but Kathleen's letter from April of this year indicated that the combined square footage, which would include the expansion spaces, just below 3,600 square feet, and 14 parking spaces are required. The applicant has submitted a portion of their lease showing that 14 are allotted to this business, and then she has a note compliant, which is why I was under the impression that parking was not an issue.
Coffee's not included because it's an accessory?
The coffee was not included because it was determined to be,
There's no parking requirement?
right, because it was accessory to the principal use.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at Mr. DiCarlo's original decision, because this seems to be the part of the dilemma we have here, the mixed interpretations of what this facility is. It says here, principal permitted uses, commercial schools offering instruction in dance, music, fine arts, and similar pursuits. Do you provide instruction or in any of these areas that's mentioned here, dance, music, fine arts, or similar pursuits?
You're talking about movement and instructional based.
Well, instructions classes in those areas.
I mean, it's obviously not a dance school, but we are instruction only, and similar pursuits, I would imagine, could hopefully come down to personal training, but I think the owners of the building who are here can attest to the amount of gyms and things that were here in this building long before we came around, like decades.
Well, our dilemma is always that some of these facilities may or may not have been used improperly, and, zoning is not necessarily a black and white issue. I think we can all agree on that.
Sure.
That there are interpretations that do differ from time to time. And that's what we have to wrestle with here, is.
But was Mike DiCarlo questioning, I'm actually confused, so forgive my ignorance. Is Mike DiCarlo was the one that approved all of this, so was he questioning the use then, or?
And he seems to be justifying giving you the permit by saying that you fall into this category.
So,
Can I ask you, was that his rationale? I
well,
know.
he approved it, so that would have to be,
Well, he listed it here in his approval, okay? It's in the existing zone 150-17-11, C2, Professional Office and Business Zone District. And it's under principal permitted uses, and that's why, and commercial schools, and I'm assuming he put you into, I have to judge that he put you into that category. Mr. Tremblay, you're nodding your head, so I assume that you don't disagree with my logic here.
No, he says in the paragraph that says decision that it would, he believed it was a commercial school offering instruction.
Okay.
And that therefore was permitted. That was his interpretation.
Okay, so now you come back in, and Ms. Marsh has a different interpretation of what the facility, what category the facility falls into. She's classifying it now as a gym, am I correct?
and,
Basically,
Recreational facility.
recreational.
Commercial.
and so,
And that's why we're sitting here. Okay, thank you.
question. Well, my question would be for the board, anybody that would like to answer, is that when one zoning officer gives you approval or classifies you one way, and then you're only trying to expand that exact same thing, and you're classified differently by a different zoning instructor, then you fall, I guess,
Well, I'm going to have to
Here.
our attorney here and basically say, if we believe the decision was incorrect, and I'm not saying we do, but if we believe that it's incorrect, are we compelled to exacerbate an existing incorrect decision?
See, to clarify, what happens is
We're not.
when the applicant comes in and the zoning officer agrees with you, then you're happy and go away and we don't see it. When you don't agree with the zoning officer, you question the zoning officer's, which you can do, you question the zoning officer's decision, and then it comes to us for review. When we get to see this, that's when we get to see the original zoning officer's opinions and determine if they actually agree with our interpretation. There's nobody looking over the zoning officer's shoulder to review every decision that they make. So a lot of times in the gray areas, they make decisions, and then at some point in the future, we have to deal with it. So this is that point.
And Mr. Chairman, I guess if we approve, I know we've come up against this a few times before, if we approve this expansion, does that in fact grandfather in,
The existing.
the additional space as part of the original decision, I guess, for lack of a better way.
It would be a modification of the entire, to bring everything up to date. However, you decided to bring everything into the fold, but yes.
And that would include the coffee bar? I mean, that includes the accessory use of the coffee bar?
I'm sorry?
That would include the space?
Yeah, I think you would be endorsing the entire project once you give approval, because now, as the chairman said, maybe there were things that the board was not aware of. Because there's an expansion, this board has jurisdiction, so you would be endorsing everything.
There's a space on this, on A3 that's labeled library/lounge that's next to the coffee bar.
it's the existing room that we have that's there now. It's just like an open space. It's not changing from where it is, from what it is right now to what it would be on the new plan as well.
What's in that new space?
It's just a place to sit after, like most of the clients we have tables. Clients will go there before their sessions or after their sessions, and they'll wait for their session, or they'll come before class, sit, have a coffee, bring their computer, read a book, or they'll sometimes meet and gather after, they work out, things like that. It's basically just a community hangout room. And mostly our staff is in there working because that's generally where we go, since we don't have, it's just an empty space that we called something, kitschy.
Well, is it empty or does it have tables?
Empty as in it's not used for, there's no coffee in there, there's no gym in there. It's just an empty room that has tables to sit. And our storage, all of our storage is in there.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? This relates to Mr. Tully's question about the tables and chairs that are set up outside. Are those tables and chairs set up in any of the parking spaces?
No.
Okay. Because the way I read Mr. DiCarlo's letter, I think his restriction against tables and chairs for the coffee bar was that they could not be located in any of the parking spaces.
Correct.
Not that they couldn't have tables and chairs outside, but he wanted to make sure that they weren't taking the space of parking spaces. And I believe that we're in compliance with that, since they're outside but they're not in parking spaces.
I think you need to interpret that. I would interpret it slightly differently.
Yeah, same with me.
You can't utilize any of the off-street parking spaces to conduct business, which would be all of the businesses you run, or to set up any tables or chairs for use of the coffee bar.
Yeah. You can't have people parking that are going to the cafe. Your parking is only for your main use, which is the gym.
Not the way I read it, but
Yeah.
to conduct business.
I mean, that's what it says, and that's what he had said before, that we can't use, like years ago, parking spaces
You can't
from the
conduct-
building.
you
Yeah,
can't
that's what he said to us too, because we had done something actually with the gym during COVID, where we had people outside working out. And as he's stating is, and I remember him talking to me about this, the applicant cannot use any of the off-street parking spaces to conduct business or set up tables or chairs for the coffee bar, because we were operating during COVID and we were doing some of the classes outside. And we even had like a tent that was taking up 2 parking spaces. This is even before the coffee bar. And he was like, you can't use that because it does, other tenants complain that you're utilizing parking spaces for your gym. He said, and sure as heck for the coffee shop, you can't do that. So that's what it says. And that's what he was saying to us, because we did do classes outside when it was COVID in parking space, like 2 parking spaces.
You have the 2 parking spaces now that are designated for coffee bar pickup?
I mean, he just gave us 2 designated parking spaces, and that basically we park there. Mike told the owners to give us 2 additional parking spaces.
That's a Mike.
That's the applicant should request to have 2 additional is that the question? Because that's what he gave us, those 2 parking spaces, which means they can't be taken up by the 95% of the people that park in our complex, Vanguard Medical. So those 2 parking spaces actually belong to us. That was what he requested, Mike DiCarlo requested.
So they're not 2 of the 14?
I don't know what the question is.
To answer that.
I just know that was what he said that he needed for this to happen, for us to get 2 specific parking spots.
So one of his conditions, just to follow up on that, was that the applicant should request 2 additional off-street parking spaces be assigned
From the property owner, and that's what we got.
Did you make that request?
Yes,
And
and
did you get the 2 additional parking?
Stephen
spaces?
gave it to us, yes.
Okay.
Which contradicts when we go back to the resolution being the blanket parking.
Right. And
That was just what he told us to do.
right, but more so, did he tell you to do that based on the fact that a coffee bar needed 2 spaces for parking? Or was this just a thought he had?
That I don't know. I just know that he said that we should have 2 additional off-street parking spaces that were assigned to us. So to us, we were just happy to get parking that would be assigned to us from, Vanguard and all the other people that take up the spaces.
Okay, so obviously, the owner could probably solve that one because those 2 spaces had to come from one of the other tenants.
No. Go ahead, Stephen.
On the permit drawings for the cafe, did you list that this was going to be an accessory use to the main use of the training center?
I did not submit the permit drawing, so I
Or on the permit application?
Do you?
I didn't submit the permit. They're
Yeah.
under,
Yeah.
right, they're under Willow Street. I mean, I didn't submit them myself because I don't own the building. Quite honestly, if I'm being frank, I had no idea that this, truthfully, and negligent I may be, but I thought we were just waiting on building permits, which is crushing because as far as we knew, we didn't know. We had just landed in Florida, April, to saying that it was denied. We didn't even know that it had to go through zoning. So, and obviously understood because it's commercial, but we were, to our best of our knowledge, we were approved by zoning officer, so we didn't understand. We just thought we were waiting on building. So I would have to ask the owners the question to clarify how it was submitted.
For clarification on that, there were no building permits submitted. It came when we were asked to actually do a site visit. That's when I went with the construction subcode, Jerry Downey and myself. And actually, you did not have access to the building, but we could see through the windows that construction had started. And that's how we knew construction. So there were no actual building permits submitted by the owners prior to finding out that there was construction.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also looking still again at Mr. DiCarlo's conditions of approval, because I really do accept the applicant's, contention that this was all done in good faith on their part, okay? But he clearly puts in here about the signage again. The applicant is not permitted to utilize any exterior business or commercial signage that would highlight the approved accessory use. To do so would clearly misrepresent the definition of what an accessory use is. Now, here we go again. Is it accessory use to the school, quote unquote? Should it just be confined to the people who are utilizing the school? The fact that it's opened to the general public to use, does that in some way overstep what the accessory use might be? That's another issue in my head that's coming up with this. Even, if I accept, I can't pick and choose if I look at his approval, I also have to look at his conditions, okay? And that one also sticks out to me in terms of the fact, and once again, this is not any reflection on you personally, but maybe he should have said to you with a little more specific, if you are going to open a coffee bar, you have to confine it to people who are using these facilities that you've just been approved for in the school, and not put a sign out as much as you may be, contending that it is a beneficial use for the public to come and get coffee there. I don't think that's what he intended when he put that in there.
So the accessory use under the township ordinance, under definitions, is a use subordinate to the principal use located on the same lot and serving a purpose customarily incidental to the principal use.
Okay.
So he made the determination that the coffee bar would be an incidental to training facility.
Fine, but then again, we really have, in essence, you almost have like two businesses operating here. Because you have a coffee bar that's open to the general public. They don't have to be a member of the gym. They don't have to be, in a class or an event. They can just walk up and do it. So, if we kept this condition of approval, if we did approve the variance, I think we also have to go back and look at conditions of approval regarding the operation of a separate coffee shop in line with the gym.
Which would also not be a permitted use within that district.
That would be another variance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for our applicant? Seeing none, is there anyone from the public who would like to ask questions of our applicant based on the testimony presented this evening? Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Trembleak?
Yes, my next witness is William Stimmel.
Mr. Stimmel, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
State your name and business address for the record, please.
Sure. William Stimmel, S-T-I-M-M-E-L. My professional address is P.O. Box 280, Rutherford, New Jersey.
Mr. Stimmel, I know you've testified before this board in the past, so I'm not sure if you've been here recently. So would you just quickly review your educational background and your professional qualifications, particularly your qualifications as a professional planner?
Sure. I'm a graduate of NJIT with a degree in civil engineering. I've been employed for the past 25 years in the state of New Jersey as an engineer and a planner. Testifying as a planner here tonight. I've been a licensed planner since 2010. My license is current, and I have testified in that capacity in front of this board in the past, as well as boards in many municipalities in the area, including, not limited to, Cedar Grove, Bloomfield, Montclair, Clifton, etc.
I'm offering Mr. Stimmel tonight solely as an expert in the field of professional planning. We're good?
Accepted.
Okay. All right. Mr. Stimmel, you're familiar with the application that's pending before the board
Yes, I am.
and the applicable sections of the Verona zoning ordinance?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Why don't you review the application, beginning with a brief overview of the existing conditions and what the applicant is proposing and the relief that's necessary.
Certainly. The subject property is an irregularly shaped parcel with a lot area of 3.49 acres, almost 3.5 acres. That's a little over 150,000 square feet. It's currently occupied with 6 commercial buildings, 3 of which are adjoined, and the remainder of the property is primarily occupied by paved parking and circulation areas. Right now, the applicant occupies a 2,184 square foot portion of Building C and utilizes it as a fitness center with ancillary coffee counter. The access to the site right now is provided via one entrance only driveway along Grove Avenue and via a full movement driveway along Ozone Avenue. The applicant is proposing, in conjunction with this application, to expand their existing business into a vacant 1,408 square foot portion of Building C, increasing the overall size of the fitness center to 3,592 square feet. Aside from the interior renovations to support that expansion, there's no other changes proposed to Building C, to the other buildings on the property, or to the site as a whole.
Can you discuss the zoning for the property?
Yes, the site is located within the C2 zone, the professional office and business zone. Permitted uses in the C2 zone per ordinance section 150-17.11A include commercial and professional office. Looking at the property as it exists now and looking at the ordinance definition, it appears that physical therapy would be a permitted use, and there is in fact an existing physical therapy tenant in the same building. Commercial schools offering instruction in dance, music, fine art, and similar pursuits are permitted. Yoga has been accepted as a permitted use in the past. Family daycare centers and co-working space. Conditionally permitted uses in the C2 zone consist of mixed residential and professional non-medical office uses, mixed residential and commercial non-medical office uses, mixed professional and commercial office uses, non-medical, and assisted living. As Mr. Trembleak has indicated, during the tenure of the prior zoning official, the fitness center that the applicant operates on the property was indicated to be a permitted use. The current zoning official, of course, disagrees with that interpretation and has indicated that this falls under the category of commercial recreational facility and is not permitted in the zone. Therefore, a D variance is required for the expansion. I understand, I think, some of the logic that went into the prior zoning official's determination, and I think the board member was correct in mentioning that maybe that relates to the fact that other similar uses, that one clause in the second permitted use in the zone, although it's not instruction in art or music, there is one-on-one coordinated teaching that occurs at this facility, or the small group such as the yoga class, and it does have an element of that kind of instruction. On the other hand, the gym category falls under the commercial recreation use as defined in the zone, but I think that type of gym is probably what the board members and frankly I envisioned when first looking at this application, in that it's something along the lines of a retail, what I'd call a retail gym. It's client driven, there's no appointments, you show up and you show up, you work out, you use the weights or the machines as you see fit, and it's not one-on-one instruction. It's a large facility, frequently a chain, in a very big space in a building, occupies a lot of parking. When you get out of work in the evening, you've got a flood of, let's say, 50 cars coming to the site. And that's what I had in mind when I thought about the gym use. And when I went to the property, went into the building, that's clearly not what this is. This is a much smaller facility, a much more personalized experience. And for my evaluation of the ordinance and understanding of the operation, which was enlightened, I think, by the client's operational testimony tonight, the use that's proposed here does not neatly fit into that gym category either. But with the understanding that the zoning officer has determined that a D variance is required here, I would make the argument for the D2. Part of that argument, of course, is going to be that it does bear certain similarities to the yoga or dance studios, which would be permitted in the group setting context of the use, and also with the physical therapy, which is permitted in the context of the one-on-one element of the use. So in order to grant the requested variance relief, the applicant has to demonstrate that the positive and negative criteria have been satisfied. There's the site suitability aspect of it. And I would mention again that the site is located in a commercial zone. One of the existing tenants, our client's existing space in the building, is that existing fitness center, which has been permitted, and they do have a valid CO for that use. The applicant is proposing to move into a space which was occupied by a prior health-related use. I believe the client testified that it was light and sound therapy. Another tenant in the commercial building is a daycare, which is a highly compatible use to the fitness center. You drop off your kids at the daycare, you go to the fitness center, you can pick them up later. It's located along Grove Avenue, which is an arterial roadway in Verona. It can accommodate the new use without expansion of the footprint, an increase in the height or the floor area, and all those go to the suitability of the site. The second element is that the applicant has to demonstrate that the special reasons have been satisfied. The first and most commonly cited special reason is Purpose A of the Municipal Land Use Law, which is to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which promotes the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. We would be reoccupying a valuable commercial space with an expanded use that has shown its compatibility with the zone and the adjoining properties. It also advances a few master plan goals and objectives, which I'm just going to briefly mention. Land use goal 3A, which is to provide appropriate levels of recreational opportunities to efficiently and adequately serve residents of the township. Land use goal 5E, which is to preserve and promote a balanced variety of residential, commercial, public, recreational, and conservation land uses. Economic development goal 3, which is to maintain attractive and thriving businesses and commercial districts. You've got an applicant here who has had a successful business in this location for the past 5 years and is doing well enough that they want to expand that. And it's also worth noting that several times in the public survey portion of the master plan, there was noted a demand for expanded and improved recreational opportunities, access to fitness centers, and more fitness services. The other side of the coin for the requested variance relief, the applicant has to demonstrate the negative criteria, that the variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and where it will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. For my evaluation of the submitted materials, my review of the surrounding uses on the property and the surrounding area in the vicinity of the site, I see no substantial detriment to the public good. There's no change to the exterior of the building, no change to the site itself. The expansion into the tenant space will be effectively invisible to anyone on the adjoining properties or rights-of-way. To be honest, the portion of the building in which the site is located is pretty far back from the public right-of-way, so unless you're on the site already, you're not even going to know that it's there. I would say that the proposed use is not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. Again, you have the similarities to the permitted medical office use, to the instructional, dance, music, etc. uses. You've got something that's an existing commercial use on the property. This represents an expansion, and it allows for this type of use in a portion of the municipality where it would not otherwise be permitted. And I believe that is all of the variance testimony for the D variance, and there were no C variances cited in the zoning officer's review letter because, again, the applicant is not modifying the site in any way.
Are you aware, in the course of preparing for this hearing, aware of any other similar variances granted by this board, similar to what's being requested tonight?
Yes, there was a variance for a gym approved in 2001 by the zoning board. The was located in a different building on the subject property, but it was a 6,600 square foot facility, which is significantly larger than the proposed facility, which is 3,600 square feet. So it's not quite twice as large as what the applicant's use would be on the property if this is approved.
And was that for a business known as the Adrenaline Academy?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And, all right, and you've seen the resolution?
Did you say that was 2001?
2001, yes.
Okay, so almost 25 years ago?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a while ago, but, I mean, I have copies of that resolution.
We'll accept your.
Yeah. Doesn't seem that long ago. Yeah. I have copies of that resolution if the board would like to see it, but it was, again, a 2001 approval, I think unanimously approved by this board, or similar. That was clearly a gym.
That was clearly a gym. From reading the documentation from the township, it sounds more of the traditional gym that I and presumably some of the board members were expecting when they first looked at this application.
Okay.
Can I just ask the witness a quick question about that facility? Were they operating a coffee shop that was open to the public?
There's no indication that they were, no.
Okay. I have nothing further from Mr. Stimmel.
While you have Mr. Stimmel here, could you talk a little about the definition for an event space?
The ordinance definition?
Professional planner's definition?
Event space I'm taking to mean something that's an open room not dissimilar to this one, where they host various functions, social functions, could be conferences, conventions, could be weddings, birthday parties, etc.
Okay. And what would be like a differing factor between an event space and a space where an event is being held? Active management?
Well, I think it goes back to the same argument about the accessory use with the coffee shop. It's, if you have a restaurant that hosts an occasional birthday party, is it still a restaurant or is it then an event space? It's the frequency, and I think there's an interpretation that has to come into play either by the zoning official or if it comes to this point, by the board.
Okay.
Typically, if I have a different use than an event space, I can apply for a special permit for that one-night event, right?
Mm-hmm. Frequently, yes. I think it varies from location to location.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question for, are you aware of the fact that your client heavily advertises the facility as a event venue? I did believe on their website. You know, it's sort of following up on the chairman's question here.
I'm aware of it to the extent that I know it was included in the zoning official's letter that was issued today. I saw the page that was referenced on the website. Beyond that, I have no personal knowledge of it.
Okay. So I guess a hypothetical, if we, you know, acknowledge the fact that there's an existing use as a fitness center, I think that's the way you refer to it, more or less?
Correct.
Okay. I think you're more or less conceding the fact that maybe our current zoning official was a little bit more correct in her interpretation of the use of the space as opposed to Mr. DiCarlo, who classified it as a school, but that's for us to determine here. So basically, if we were to approve the variance, we might want to consider limiting the amount of time that it could be used as an event space, as a condition, you know, of approval, or whether it should even be used at all as an event space. Mr. Massaro, I'll defer to you if that would be a legitimate condition.
I mean, certainly if it's not a conforming, if it's not a permitted use, then, and if you believe it has been used for that purpose in the past, then you certainly can reinforce the restriction.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, in your review, there's no other facility in there that I'm aware of that considers themselves an event space.
I mean, complex?
No, in that complex, yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay. Okay.
You know, while I'm waiting for Mr. Trembulak to get back, one of the thoughts I had is that if the board is concerned that if this expansion is approved, the likelihood of one of those, and I am reluctant to name a name, but one of those larger fitness chains with the bigger facilities might entertain moving into this location, they could probably tailor the approval in a way that would make it not tenable for that type of user to come in.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Would you happen to know if there's going to be any change in utilities? As far I know, there's going to be another like washer and dryer. There's going to be a new washer and dryer and a shower. But do you know if there's going to be any change to like the utilities in the building?
I am not aware of that. Any change that would be required would come to light at the time that the building permits were filed. They'd have to get the appropriate approvals though.
So, back to the idea of parking. So if this was a coffee shop as well as in that same type of space, would that change the parking requirement, that it would need more than if it was just a training facility?
As I understand it, the approval is for a fixed number of parking spaces for the entire complex and doesn't fluctuate based on changes in tenancy. But I may have misunderstood what the zoning official said earlier.
That might differ based on use. The original plan was for everybody based on what it was approved for.
Yeah, the coffee shop as proposed, as existing, I don't think is intended for drawing a large volume of traffic from outside the area. I think it's intended to an extent to serve the people that are there for the fitness center, and to a limited extent also the people in the surrounding complex or neighborhood. I don't think it's, you know, again, I don't want to name a chain that we could probably all think of, but I don't think it's intended to draw that kind of traffic. The letter from Mr. DiCarlo specified that 2 parking spaces should be designated for that small portion of the space, and that's been done. So I think that indicates that there's an understanding that there would be some people driving there to get coffee or get a smoothie, but limited.
Right. And that does that conflict with the accessory the accessory use definition?
I don't think so. I think that was baked into the original consideration, that there would be some component coming from off the property. That's just my reading of it, and obviously the board has to make their own determination.
Okay.
Can you opine as to whether do you believe an accessory use can morph out of being an accessory use?
If the applicant came back, if the applicant changed their plans and decided to make this a full-blown coffee shop, they would have the right to come in front of the board and apply for a variance to allow that use, but they couldn't just turn it into a 3,600 square foot coffee shop without an approval. It's limited to what they're approved for. And there may be some reasonable expansion to that could occur and stay an accessory
That's
use.
what okay.
Because right now, I mean, I'm looking at some of the advertisements. I think the official, it's the name of the LLC is the Compound Fitness LLC. Am I correct with that?
Yeah.
But yet advertisements go out and advertise it as the Compound Coffee Company. And that seems to indicate that that's a primary, co-primary use of the facility. And I don't know that Mr. DiCarlo, even if I accept his, I consider his erroneous decision when he put his conditions in there, was anticipating that the coffee shop aspect was going to be given as much weight, if I can put it in that, as the fitness aspect. That's something that, that concerns me.
In the decision, they list that, the product or the coffee is meant to be actually, purchased on site, but consumed out somewhere else. So it's like a to-go. You leave in the gym, you get the coffee, and you go in your car and leave.
But that's not what it turned into. Business, I understand we need to make money, but it's got to be clarified.
Does anyone on the board have any further questions for our professional planner?
Want to be, sorry, if the applicant, if as you just testified, an applicant came and requested a variance to operate a coffee shop, how many parking spaces would that require for that particular use?
I don't have that number at my fingertips.
Okay.
Square footage. Any other questions for our professional planner? Is there anyone from the public who has a question of our professional planner? Seeing none?
I have an additional witness I'd like to call, Stephen Plofker.
Mr. Plofker, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, I do.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Plofker, what is your relationship to the property 271
I've
Grove?
owned this property for probably close to 30 years. I don't remember the first time, the year I bought it. I've been before this board and where are we, zoning board?
Zoning
and the
board.
planning board over a half dozen times in the last 30 years. We're proud to be to own the property of Verona and have had a very positive working relationship with the township and the planning board, the zoning board, and the building department all those years.
And you've been sitting in the audience during the proceeding, and I know there are some issues that have arisen that you would like to offer some
I'll be
testimony.
brief, but I appreciate your time. I own this building. I own dozens of other buildings. I'm the landlord to small tenants and small businesses, and I try to be very supportive of those because it's not easy. It's really not easy. I don't have large corporations that are tenants. Generally, I'm not talking Vanguard Medical, but my normal tenant is like this applicant. They're doing the best they can, they really are. And I'm not saying that Mr. DiCarlo made the right decision back then, but he made a decision on behalf of the town, and the tenant relied on that decision. And I just feel that it's unfair. I don't mean to be rude in any way, but it's really unfair of the board to start to say, well, that's too bad. We think he made a decision. We're going to revisit that. She's built a business and invested a lot of money and a lot of years and a lot of time on a town employee's decision that she could operate her business and her coffee business, and she's been doing just that. And whether or not her sign is right or wrong, I think we can resolve that without a lot of argument. But in terms of her main business, and she's not applying to do anything different than she was approved to do. She's applying for an expansion. And I will apologize to the board, and I've already apologized to the building department. We've been doing this for 30 years. We apply for building permits. We normally get them in a very short order, and we start construction. Sometimes we start before we get the permits, but we don't try to cut any corners. We always get our required inspections. And this time, I had no idea why the building permits were taking so long. We had no clue what was going on. So we did start construction, and we admitted to it, and we paid a fine, and worked it out with the building department. And we don't cut corners. We do sometimes start construction early because the state of municipal approvals in many other towns too. And we made representations to the tenant to when she could get in there. So we did try to speed things up, and I do apologize for that, but she had nothing to do with that. That was entirely my decision, and we admitted it and paid the fine because of that. But for her not to be able to rely on approval that Mr. DiCarlo got, no, whether you approve this application or not, to me, it's the same use as she's doing. She's just expanding use. By the way, in I think it was 01, we had a gym, a 6,600 square foot gym with 200 projected users of the gym. And they were there for probably 15 years in a series of buildings. This particular space has been a yoga studio for over a dozen years. There are successes of uses. There have been a lot of related uses, such as physical therapy, acupuncture, light therapy, all in adjacent uses. And I hear what the board's saying, and I'm not going to disagree and tell you your current interpretation is wrong. I'm just saying that this particular tenant has relied on an approval she previously gotten, which was consistent with approvals that we've gotten for the last 25 plus years. And I just think it's a little fair to the applicant and her husband for you to revisit that in her case. Now we're advised that before we do any such or any continued uses, we will certainly come before you. And I heard the comment that, well, you didn't know about it because Mr. Carl issued a decision. Well, that's not her responsibility to bring it to, it's not anybody's responsibility. As far as I know, in the 5 years that she's been in business, we've not gotten any complaints from the township or anyone else about her use, and I don't think that she's gotten any complaints, formal or informal complaints, about the way she's using her business, representing her business, putting a signage on her business. And at some point, I think these small businesses should be able to rely. If there's a problem, by all means, we're happy to address it. And as a landlord, we're happy to help a tenant address it. But I just think it's maybe not the right time to be telling her she's been doing things she shouldn't have been doing for 5 years. There's a time and a place for that. She's simply trying to expand her business, the exact business that she currently has, that as far as we knew, she was complying with the intent of your ordinance and the intent of Mr. Carlo's written decision. And I'm open to questions. I can answer questions about parking or anything else. By the way,
do you want to talk about parking?
Well, in this building and almost every building I own, we don't assign spaces. We find that's the most inefficient way to ever park cars. You probably need 35% more spaces, the actual spaces, not the zoning thing. If you because you'll end up with a parking lot with a lot of vacant spaces. So we don't assign them. And we accommodate tenants as we need. We give them a certain amount in their lease. It's usually related closely to a zoning, but it's not necessarily. It could be more or less. But we don't assign spaces, and we generally don't count unless we need to. If there's an issue, we have a related parking company, we'll assign an attendant there, and we'll see who's abusing the privileges. We haven't had to do that in this particular lot in 30 years, and we're able to do it if there's ever a large parking problem, which we've never been notified by the town or neighbors or even the tenants, for the most part, that we have any issue. And so what do? We do business as we always do. We try to accommodate our tenants because they have a hard enough time making money and paying rent and feeding their families on a daily basis. So we try to just be as supportive of them as they can. They need more parking, we accommodate. I do admit that Vanguard Medical is probably the largest user of the complex, and yeah, they've been really busy and they're using a lot of space. We try to accommodate. I think they certainly pay me rent, but in addition to that, they provide, I think, a great service to the town and the community at large. They're really turned to a very large medical center with related uses of radiology, and I don't know what else they have going on there, but they're really busy. And as long as we can accommodate that, and we try to maintain good relationships with our residential neighbors, and if there's ever an issue, which it rarely is, we try to accommodate them too. So I understand the concern, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm not going to disagree with you. Your interpretation's wrong. I just think that it's unfair to this business, and if there's not a problem with the way we're conducting ourselves in terms of accommodating our mostly small tenants and the Vanguard Medical Center, then I don't know what the issue is. You know, we're just trying to be a service to we try to keep the buildings in a very nice state. We've put a lot of money into them through the years, and we continue to do it. And we're just trying to, provide a service, keep a good building, pay our taxes. We've had environmental issues, which are not in any way our cause. We bought a building that had been approved by the state of New Jersey as a cleanup had already occurred to their satisfaction. And when there was an issue with daycare centers a number of years ago, they did soil and ground testing on every one. They found there's a soil contamination. And so there's a cleanup going on there. And, but that's not here or there. It's, just the way it is. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone on the board or the public may have.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That was a good summary. We appreciate having you as a landowner in Verona.
I'm proud.
There's probably a few more spaces we could use a landowner like that.
Any questions, Mr. Chairman, from anybody?
I know when you say you don't, you allocate those parking spaces and everything, can I assume that you start out saying you have 300 parking spaces and you never go over the 300 when all the tenants are in and you have allocated?
I'll never say never, but I think we don't. No, we generally know how many we've given, and we don't. That would not be right, because we don't do what the airlines do, which is oversell.
That's it. Well,
but the tenants overuse some, but we don't oversell the spaces.
Right, but you don't have a load of complaints about it.
No, not, but we're used to it, not in this property. We own a lot of buildings and property in Montclair. It's more of a parking issue there usually. And the things we do, when we have an attendant there. We also have, there's a lot of new digital systems where people have to log in to an app to park the cars, and, tenant A is registered for 7 spots, and when the 8th person comes in, they can't park. It was much harder you needed an expensive employee to do it. Now it's much easier. So we also have a company that will come boot the cars. I don't like doing it, but it's a good example to the people that are not supposed to be parking there. So yes, we're well equipped at doing this. We're happy to do it here if we ever need to, and we haven't needed to.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Flopper, because this this sort of relates to the earlier testimony from the lady that owns the property. The letter, the April 27th, 2021, okay, which was submitted, I think, as an exhibit, Mr. DiCarlo, it actually was addressed to your company, really. That's the Webster Street Partners, is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
Jay
Okay.
Webster, yeah.
Now, the applicant, stated basically that she wasn't aware, and she was not copied on this letter, so I just want to clarify that, of any of the conditions of approval. But you were notified of the conditions of approval. I guess my question is, in these kind of situations, do you normally then go back to the applicant and share the conditions of approval with them?
Well, we certainly should.
Okay.
I can only say that, yeah, no, we certainly should have communicated, and if she says we didn't, then I accept that we didn't and we should have. But what is it, other than her awning, her not be supposed to put her signage on the diagonal part of the awning, it's supposed to only be on the front. What else is in violation?
Well, there's also, it was originally applied, once again, it's going to be the compound training facility, the compound fitness center. So when we discussed the idea of a coffee shop being open as a business, as an accessory to that. And
They should not be having business for the coffee. The coffee and the juice bar should only be for the employees and the members.
But that wasn't a condition of the approval.
That said, it's mentioned in both the decision, and then.
Let's
it's also
review it, because
mentioned-
that's not and no, I did not represent that to her, because it wasn't my understanding at all.
Well, I think on that issue, because it just was brought to my attention, the last paragraph of the second page of Mr. DiCarlo's April 2021 letter says the following: any uses such as gyms, personal service establishments, salons commonly sell personal use items or refreshments and therefore have an accessory, quote, retail use, which is incidental to the primary use, and therefore the requested use does by definition qualify as accessory. As to whether or not there's a distinction between consuming or using the items purchased on site or walking in and leaving to be consumed, used elsewhere, does not matter, does not change the principal use as a training center.
Mr. Tremblay, I think what the board is trying to say is that it's the customer, that they're interpreting, not my interpretation, I'm not making a statement either way, but they're interpreting as Mr. DiCarlo's approval was an accessory use for those customers within the gym and perhaps the compound, but not outside customers.
No.
I mean, that's.
I'm not sure he says that.
With all, yeah.
I'm just telling you what.
With all due respect, but it doesn't.
Especially when you get to the conditions of the approval, the first line, you're not allowed to utilize any of the off-street parking spaces to conduct the business or set up tables and chairs for the coffee bar.
In the parking space.
That's not how I read it. I read it conducting business.
I mean, Mr. DiCarlo contradicts himself by, in the one point, he characterizes it as a gym on that paragraph that you referred to, but he grants the approval that it's basically a school. And then he goes on to list the conditions of approval, treating it as a school.
The other thing is not advertising, right, on signage for the cafe, which would also go toward.
No, we have no defense to that. You shouldn't have put it on the, but.
Yeah, but the purpose of that is so that you're not opening it up as a business to people outside.
I don't know if that was the purpose or not. It doesn't say that was the purpose.
Well, one of the
ordinance in
I
the
think-
town is, you can only put the signage on the vertical side of the awning, not on the top.
No, well, that's different, but the purpose here says you can't advertise for the cafe, right? I know there's some Verona signage of where you're allowed to place the signage, but that's not what we're
I
referring to
don't
here.
think that's
This
an
is-
issue. By the way,
And
The tenant does not advertise. She does have a website that may be considered advertising, but it's not as though she's out there doing, print or digital advertising, the coffee shop or the ancillary use. Anyway, my point, I guess, is we're not here to debate whether she has complied with the thing. I think you have a procedure in the town, whereas if a user, a tenant, has not complied with their zoning or with the zoning in his own, there is a procedure. This is not it. This is simply, can she expand the use that she was previously,
Mr. Pfeiffer.
This is.
Mr. Chairman?
This is exactly it. This is what happens when you don't comply with the zoning ordinances. You have the opportunity to come to this board and ask for relief from those zoning ordinances.
But there was for 5 years, there was no indication from the town that she was not in compliance of those.
The first time we heard about the sign issue was 3 o'clock today. Now, admittedly, it's in Mr. DiCarlo's letter, but the sign's been there, the warning's been there for 3.5, 4 years.
And it's not an issue if we can.
And if the board wants us to eliminate the sign, the awning will eliminate it.
I think where we're going with that, yes, the sign is not conforming to Verona standards. But I think where Mr. Tully was going is that the sign, the outdoor window, the seating right in front of the outdoor window, the 2 parking spaces designated for pickup only, all work against the status of the coffee bar as an accessory use within the fitness center.
And I'm not even going to agree or disagree, but if I was going to agree with you, I think it has nothing to do, she's not seeking to expand the coffee use here. That's not the purpose of this application, is to expand the other uses, which is debate whether it's allowed or not allowed.
My interpretation of the expansion of the coffee use is to sign outside, to open up a window so people can walk up from outside the fitness center, to have 2 parking spaces so you can drive up and pick up your coffee and go, because...
Well, that was approved 5 years ago.
He approved it as an accessory structure, accessory use. And what I'm saying is...
She's not seeking to modify that in any way. She's simply seeking to expand...
Mr. Pfeiffer, any expansion of a non-conforming use has to be, again, presented to the board and approved.
Mr. I know that very well. It was never a non-conforming use, though. I mean, I don't want to debate the legalities, but,
Well, I think,
She should have to be able to rely on a former approval.
are you asking, you're suggesting that someone who is not in compliance, whether they know or don't know that they're in compliance, that the board should not consider those facts when deciding whether to give further relief?
I don't think we've had enough testimony. The only thing that I can see she's not in compliance is having signage on a not vertical surface and potentially putting the coffee on the sign.
Well, what about using the space for events?
I like the analogy of the planner. If a restaurant has events, doesn't mean it's an event space. If a gym has, very occasional, and I think the testimony was it was really sporadic, event use that wasn't, an advertised, it doesn't make an event space. Anyway, I don't need to take up any more of the board's time. I know there's some public would like to testify if there's no more questions.
I do have to ask, since you testified, if anyone from the public has a question of this witness. Seeing none. Thank you.
Chairman, can I ask for a 5-minute recess to speak with my client, see if we can present any more testimony before we...
Can we do 5 minutes, folks? We're good with that? Sure. All right, we stand adjourned till 9:40.
Maybe why?
Counsel? Back to you, Mr. Trembleak.
We don't have any further witnesses.
Okay.
That concludes our case, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to make a statement after people from the public are allowed to make?
I'd rather wait.
Okay. If there is anyone from the public who would like to make a statement about this application, this would be the time to do it. If you would, please come up to the microphone. Name, the town, no street addresses.
Can you hear me all right? I don't need the microphone. So, Anthony Passanante, 41 Gerdes Avenue in Verona. Appreciate the board's time and the ability to make a statement here. I'll just preface my general statement with I'm here because I'm passionate about the business, not necessarily the owners. The business came into my life in 2023. In 2021, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer while pregnant with our second child. When we went through that 18-month battle, we were new to Verona, just about maybe 18 months into being here. Didn't really have much of a community. About 18 months in, she got clean. We found the compound through a friend who recommended a place for her to help recover. She had been through a double mastectomy, reconstructive surgery. So she met the owners of the compound. They welcomed her in. As you can imagine, as a 35-year-old woman, no hair, recently recovered from surgery and pregnancy, not a lot of places you'd be comfortable. A retail gym, that's an example. She found the ability to recover in a safe space. Fast forward to now, we're now 6 months into her second battle. If there's been a community now, it's been the compound. She's been able to physically recover, mentally recover. You brought up the coffee. I can speak as a witness, as a person of use. When my wife goes to work out, whether it's one-on-one with Danny, whether it's with Asar, whether I go for recovery myself, personal time with Brian, our two kids come, sit in that lounge, have a smoothie. I don't have to leave my home. It's a place we can feel normal. So, to me, the intent of the business, the owners have been true to it. If anything, they've been compassionate about the community. I'm far from the only person who's benefited from it. And I guess in closing, I would just point out, I heard Mr. Ryan, Mr. Chairman, you both alluded to the fact that zoning is not black and white and that there is a gray area. And so I would just ask that in your determination, you consider intention in that gray area. And the benefit to the community is probably most important. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make a statement?
Good evening, council members. My name is Nicole Leonardo, and I live at 16 Bird's Eye Glen here in Verona. I've been here for over 10 years. Oh, sure. I'm here tonight to share my full support for the variance request submitted by the compound, a locally owned small business that's become such an important part of our community over the past 5 years. I've had the privilege of watching Danny and Brian build the compound from the ground up, from an idea they were passionate about into the vibrant, welcoming place it is today. From the very beginning, their goal wasn't to open a business, but to create a space that brought people together, a place where neighbors could connect and be supported and grow stronger, both physically and as a community. What they've built is so much more than a business. It's a gathering place where friendships form, where people encourage one another, and where Verona's community spirit shines every single day. Danny and Brian have continually shown up for Verona, sponsoring local events, charities, supporting fundraisers, and creating opportunities for others. Their dedication reflects the very best of what makes this town special. Their proposed expansion isn't about changing who they are. It's about continuing to meet the needs of the people that they serve. More space would mean more classes, more wellness opportunities, and most importantly, more local jobs for the residents that live here right in Verona. I understand that zoning and variances are important considerations, but I ask that you also see the heart behind this request. The compound has proven to be a positive force in our town, one that adds value not only to our local economy, but to the daily lives of so many residents. I hope you'll support this variance and give Danny and Brian a chance to continue growing with and for our community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Leonardo. One more.
Good evening. Hi. Oh, sorry. Hi, sorry. Lisa Dunn, Verona resident. I've been here 5 years. I had a whole statement written, and just after listening to everybody, I'm going to just kind of go off the cuff here. I moved here roughly around the same time Brian and Danny started putting together the idea of putting the compound into the space that it currently is in. I think we're right around the end of COVID, and it was definitely a very tricky time we were all going through, but they took a leap of faith and they started this business from the ground up, and I've been here watching them grow and flourish since day one. Going off of just kind of what everyone else has said, we all understand that there are rules, regulations, and, codes that need to be followed. And I think we all understand that. I think we're kind of missing also a very big picture here of it's their livelihood, it's their heart and soul. And what they're doing is trying to just bring community and family to Verona. Have you guys been to the compound? I mean, it's like, do we support our local businesses? All they're trying to do is make a place that everyone is welcome. I mean, you guys have gone on their website. I think when you open, their site, you see the energy that they bring to the community, that everybody goes there and, strangers become family, and the good that they do. Yes, they have that yearly holiday hoopla, and it helps local vendors, right? They support other small businesses. And it's a toy drive. They bring, everybody from Verona comes and they bring toys and they deliver them personally to a children's hospital. I think, yes, there are a lot of, things that need to be done on everyone's end here, but, they're just trying to do the best that they can and just make this such a great part of the community. And it is a great part of the community. It's just, I don't know. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to make a statement about this application? Seeing none, I would close the public portion. Mr. Tremblak, would you have a statement of closing?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull this together if I can, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I think it's important to start out by what brought us here tonight. We filed this application to expand the existing use or the size of the fitness center. That's what we came here for. That's what we're prepared to present. And we've presented our case. And just with respect to that case, let me just say the following. you and I, we can all disagree, agree or disagree with Mr. DiCarlo's opinion as to whether this use was permitted or not. But one thing we can't disagree about is he made that opinion. My client relied upon that opinion, and proceeded to invest their heart and soul, to quote one of the members of the public, their time, their energy, their life in building this business over the last 4 years. Now, I great respect for Kathleen, and I understand, and she may be right in her interpretation. If she is right, we should be granted a variance. I mean, I haven't gotten into the whole issue as to whether there's an estoppel argument to be made, because of the reliance that was placed upon the opinion of a public official, but that's clearly the case here. Mr. Plotker came up and kind of made my closing argument for me. He said a lot of the stuff that I wasn't planning to say, but again, Mr. DiCarlo rendered this decision, right or wrong. My client relied upon it and has built this business to the point where they need to expand, and they're seeking to expand. We're talking about a modest amount of space, of 1,400 square feet. And just in terms of the use, I think Mr. Stimmel pointed out the similarities to other uses that are permitted and have been permitted and have existed in this facility over the years, including several yoga studios, very similar, instructional features to that. Other businesses, this is largely a one-on-one situation, not unlike going in for a one-on-one physical therapy, which is clearly permitted, as there's a physical therapy center, but here it's one-on-one for personal therapy or physical training, if you will. It's not a retail gym, certainly. You don't have any of the equipment that you'd have in a retail gym. And it's a use that was previously approved by variance of this court. Granted, it's quite a while ago, but the business was there for 15 years or so. The purpose of the expansion is simply because they need more room to do what they've been doing for the last 5 years. They needed, more studio space. They need a little room, to have office and storage and for their people to exist. They're not looking to expand into other areas or to grow the business in any different direction. They just need additional space to accommodate what they've been doing and doing successfully for the last 5 years. Now, we came here to present our case, prepared to present our case in support of that variance, and I think we've established a compelling case to allow the business to expand. We did not come here tonight, in fairness, to deal with the coffee shop. That should not be part of this application. Until 3 o'clock this afternoon, we had no notice of anything that the zoning officer considered to be inappropriate with respect to the coffee shop. 3 o'clock today, we got a letter from Kathleen, and what does she say about the coffee shop? The only thing she mentioned in her letter was that the signage was not permitted based upon Mr. DiCarlo's letter. And she's right. And as we've said, we'll eliminate the awning sign or eliminate any advertising feature to that, and maybe just limit it to, say, the compound and nothing more. If you want nothing on the sign, we'll eliminate the sign. That was the only thing that was identified and made known to us before we got here tonight. That was a concern of the zoning officer. And we didn't come here prepared to address the issue as to whether the accessory, this is no longer an accessory use, to use Mr. Becerra's term, that this had morphed into perhaps a use that was not permitted. It's totally unfair for us to be subjected to that, and there's other procedures to that. I mean, the zoning officer, if she feels there's a violation of the zoning ordinance, or in this case, Mr. DiCarlo's letter, well, she can issue a zoning violation, which either be corrected and dealt with, or it would go before the municipal court. But this is really not the forum to address that. And we were frankly blindsided by it. And we didn't come here to talk about the coffee shop. We're not seeking to expand the coffee shop, which has existed, since it was approved in April of 2021. And I guess I wanted to mention just the issue of the events. There's no intention here on the part of my client, never was, to make this an event space to have a side business. She has an event occasionally. There is stuff on the website, clearly. Most of the pictures there go back many years ago. It's not a significant component of this business. If the board wants to impose conditions or limitations on the use of the space for events, you're certainly entitled to do that, and we would accept any, reasonable conditions or limitations. But really, my client's got a business, that's their livelihood, and they just need more space in a facility that's clearly appropriate for this use. And, I think we've proven our case to our entitlement to a variance to expand the use under Section D2 of the appropriate statute. And I would therefore urge the board to approve the application.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And grant the relief that we've sought. And if there are other issues that need to be addressed, they can be addressed, but in a different or appropriate form where there's, proper procedures and proper notice, et cetera.
Okay. All right. I would open the board deliberation.
So I could start. In terms of the original, I would say, variance, the expanded use, I have no issues with it. In fact, I think I was the only board member to actually ask a question or two about the expanded use. It's basically operating in the same capacity as now, more space. I think it's actually probably less detrimental than if it was used for some of the approved businesses in terms of parking and this and that. So I have no problems with the expansion of the space and granting that variance. In terms of the awning, I think that is so de minimis. So I'm fine with granting that variance. It's the awning is, and the location is so far off of Grove Street and Ozone. It's not like you're getting a lot of walk-in traffic. It's not an eyesore, this or that. I'm fine with the awning if we want to grant a variance for that, or really do whatever we want. I think it's a non-issue. In terms of the coffee bar, I know there's been a lot of discussion on that. I truly think that Mr. DiCarlo was right. That is an accessory use. I would say that there would be no coffee bar if the personal training center was no longer going to operate. It's such a small footprint. Yes, it gets people that are not, I would say, clients of the fitness area, but I don't think it is that big of an issue. I do not want to. I would like to see it as the accessory use, as opposed to us potentially granting a variance for it, because then it stays with the life of the property and could potentially also expand to a bigger footprint. So I am fine. It's been operating, at least in my opinion, without any sort of issues. And I think it should continue to operate that way, just as the business has been doing. It'll take over the additional space add to their clientele, and I really don't see any detriments to this application.
I also don't have an issue that this is, I do feel this is closer to teaching than a gym. A gym, you have, people coming, doing individual activities, coming at different times. Here you have clear appointments and schedules. You're always with a trainer. So I do feel it's more on the training side, and would be fine with that. I do see, because if the cafe was separate from the gym and you were trying to go for an expansion on the gym, I would say the cafe isn't part of that application, but the cafe is an accessory to this expansion still. So I do feel like you need to comply with the April 27, 2021 letter, the original intent of the cafe, and it is an accessory use. No tables, chairs, and those conditions of the approval. And for the events, I think, if you just apply for special permits the nights you have events, I think it's, you tell them how many people are coming, provide a quick egress plan, the hours. So I have no problem on the events. I mean, as long as you do it properly. We're not going to approve it for events.
I'm not sure that we do have a procedure for that.
We don't?
No, I don't think so.
Morristown does.
Oh.
Yes, I guess I'm along the same lines, and it's slightly different. Look, I see a lack of negative criteria. Given the location and what it does, I see, a lot of lacking of negative, really easy to find, the positives and the beneficials here for the immediate community and beyond, given where it's at and what was discussed tonight. Where, after everything that's been heard, I think there's just, we're kind of doing a disservice if we don't just put things out there. I mean, I want to be able to walk out of here tonight feeling comfortable that, they can live with the idea of, executing this idea of coffee in a dream, that, congratulations on being the best coffee shop 22 in 2024, right? But this tiptoeing thing that we're doing all night long is a little bit exhausting. Gym fitness or not, if that's what it was declared, let's decide what it is. But I don't want to keep bouncing back and forth. We want this small business to succeed and continue to grow, not do this again. If there's another, growth plan in the future, or it's another argument, this event space thing, okay, I get it. It's not allowed. It's not allowed in C2. From what I read, my understanding, in any form or fashion. If that's on the table, if that's the desired thing, let's talk that through. But not put the small business in jeopardy where it's going to be a potential problem. Because we've seen that all too much where it's a fine line, it's this and that, and then, heaven forbid, something happened. And then we regret not being clear about what is or what is not permitted. If should an event occur and then something ill-fated happen there. I just think it would behoove us to just be honest about what is not occurring at that venue, and then put within the stipulations or put within the variances or put within whatever what this place is going to do, what it should be doing for the community, what it is doing for the community, and permit it to be what it is. That's just where I'm at. I don't have a problem with what they're achieving, what they're trying to achieve. It's where it is in town. It's reaching what I feel is kind of an underserved corner of our community, and they're continuing to do great things. So, I don't have an issue there, but what I do have an issue with is that we're tiptoeing around. It's going to keep people on edge every single time thereafter. So that's my position, just for consideration. whatever steps we make, that's where I sit.
Thank you, Bill. Other thoughts?
I have, am I allowed to vote on this tonight? Or can I?
Yes, you can, and you can certainly speak whether you're voting or not.
I have no objection to the expansion of this facility whatsoever. However, I think that the accessory building portion of it really needs to be just that, an accessory. And or those chairs and tables and whatever that are outside should go inside. And all of that coffee bar area should be inside and not outside. So, but I have no feelings about the expansion at all. I think it is fine with me. The other thought that I had was on the events. I think you're absolutely right that we have to make a determination as to what we consider events and what we consider non-events. Okay, those are my feelings.
Thank you. Anyone down there? Okay. Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll take a turn since no one else seems to be interested. I have no problem with approving the expansion of the space as well. I am going to strongly stand up for our current zoning officer in that I believe her interpretation is the correct one. I just want to get that on the record. The other decision was flawed, in my opinion. So I think it's very appropriate that you did have to come here to get a variance. Okay, I'll just put that on the record. And also, to echo Edith's concerns, I would just like a little clarification as to the event, what can and can't be done in the event space, since basically under any definition, if we say it's a gym or if we say it's a school or an educational facility, you know, I still think you should put some parameters. I know we always say here, we don't set past precedent and we don't set precedent, but that's a lot of baloney, you know, because as Mr. Tremulak just pointed out, he went back and reviewed 400 cases where he cited precedents, even though they don't technically exist. So let's not fool ourselves into thinking that any decision we make here won't be quoted somewhere down the line by our very able land use attorneys that come before us on many occasions. So basically, I totally expand the space, let them grow their business. I have no problem with that. I just would like to see some conditions placed upon holding events there. And that's I would be inclined to vote to approve the the variance.
Okay, thank you.
What do we think about the awning? What are some people's thoughts about the awning with coffee shop written on it, et cetera?
Well, I would just like to say, I mean, I'm incredibly sympathetic to the application and the business and the statements that have been made tonight about what the businesses mean to the people in this community. But I've also heard some very troubling things tonight in testimony. I mean, I've heard testimony from a landlord that basically says when he doesn't get his permits in a timely way, he just starts construction anyway and pays the fine. That's not how things should operate. I mean, that's just not. And I find that troubling. I also find troubling the fact that the conditions for the accessory use were not complied with. And at best, it was because the tenant didn't know what they were, because the landlord didn't share them. At worst, she did, or they did, the tenant did, and they didn't comply with them. Either way, there's like a real failure here. And it concerns me that any conditions we put on any granting of the application won't be followed. And that troubles me a lot. So it's just something to think about. And I don't know how we get assurances that any, resolution will be followed. Those are just my thoughts. And
well, Mr. Macera, I think she's making a very valid point, but my understanding, it would be the the building and construction people that would have to follow up on any of the conditions? Is that correct, that were
Yes,
approved?
I mean, yes, but to a certain degree, I mean, sometimes it's virtually impossible. I mean, if there's an event at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, I'm not sure how any municipal official is going to find out about that.
No, unless somebody complained about it.
Right.
On the cafe, I feel like just file for a permit to get this as a standalone cafe, get the required parking that you need for that, right? And come back in front of us, the board.
Cool.
I mean, yes, I do agree with the expansion. I think, if you can grow a business in this town, you should be able to give that an opportunity, and you're abiding by what is in the ordinances, and please go ahead and do the best you can and grow. But I do also have that same kind of feeling that if you do come in from a board and agree to stipulations, that they should be followed as well. Because then otherwise, what we're doing up here is meaningless. And so I'm happy that you're growing. That's great. And, but I do think, you have to grow responsibly as a business, but also responsibly as the town. And these are put in place for a reason. And so that's sort of where I stand in this location.
All right, it sounds to me like the expansion is not an issue for what we are now referring to as a fitness center? Is that the...
Commercial recreation, I think is.
Commercial recreation was the, okay.
It's not a school. Okay, that's the original interpretation of Mr.
Right.
DiPaolo.
Yes.
I think stretched the limits of credibility, but, you can call it a fitness center. I mean, what is it incorporated now? It's a compound?
Well, it doesn't matter what they call it.
No, I know, but why don't we be consistent and call it the same thing? No?
No, we need to call it something that's definitional under our code.
Okay.
So I think commercial recreation fits the code appropriately.
Commercial recreation, all right.
Mr. Tremblak, would you be willing to amend your application to request a new designation or to agree on a new designation of the use to make it a commercial recreation use? So that way it would be, if the board votes, it would be a permitted use?
Sure. I mean, if you feel it needs to be
Well, I think
fine, this use, but
what
sure.
our members had said is, we'd like to leave whatever the board decides, but let's know what was decided upon. So, okay.
Sure, that's fine.
All right, so we're pretty much in agreement that the expansion of the commercial recreation center is a good thing. Now, where we're not necessarily in agreement, I believe, is on what we do about the coffee business or events. And I think it's probably, let's start with the coffee business. I think we've moved around it a few times. As far as an accessory use, there are probably certain things that make or break it being an accessory use. And perhaps we can condition the approval, aside from going back and saying that everything in Mr. DiCarlo's April 27, 2021 conditions of approval must be adhered to. Are there any other conditions that would make that more of an accessory use as opposed to a standalone business use?
Bill?
I mean, I just think that I think that as long as we're not expanding into the new, which I did not hear at all, so I don't feel any concern with it. But as long as they're not expanding into the new area with anything coffee related, which I didn't hear at all. But I think if we just, what I heard is everybody's okay with what they have now, we keep. Is that what we're accepting, or are we pulling back from what they currently have?
The gym stuff.
No, I'm talking about the coffee side. Is that what we're talking about right now?
That's what we're talking about now.
Yeah. Are we asking them to hold back any of the stuff, or just keep what they have and bubble it up and then no change from there?
I'm good keeping it as is.
Okay. And they're not asking for any changes. I didn't hear any changes into the new space.
Right. We would simply be giving them guidance on what our interpretation of coffee bar in a commercial recreational would be.
Mr. Chairman, if I could request that perhaps the chair and the board better define what Mr. DiCarlo meant. So rather than have to rely back on his letter, since there was much disagreement, that the board impose new conditions, whether they be Mr. DiCarlo's better, more appropriately written or not. But
And I guess that's what I'm asking for. Let's just be clear. If what they have now is what they intend to have without any growth, then let's just lock it up at that. Be very clear on all parties so that there's no question thereafter.
Okay. And for the record, the concerns I brought up, you're okay with a sign outside saying coffee shop? You're okay with a walk-up window for outside
The only
service?
problem with that is we didn't actually see any testimony that having a coffee shop like works with traffic, parking, right? I mean, I would hate to approve anything that goes against this letter, right? I mean, I don't want to put any restrictions on it either. It's almost like this is the letter. I'm not enforcing it, but someone in Verona is, right? I don't know. Like, I don't want to rewrite this letter. This letter is what was.
is there a consensus, Mr. Chairman, of what the letter says? The interpretation of the letter?
Right. Everyone has it, right?
And it's our Exhibit A1, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Counsel, I have a question. If whatever we decide to better define Mr. DiCarlo's 2021 letter, is that going to bind this board when another type of establishment wants to add a coffee bar as an accessory use in a hair salon or a nail salon or any other place? You know, I guess that's my concern.
Definitionally, yes.
So
that there has, many times precedent doesn't matter in land use. You know, just because somebody gets a variance doesn't mean the next people are more entitled. But if that's how the ordinance is interpreted, then there would have to be consistency in ordinance interpretation.
So that means if we were to allow the accessory use to continue operating with things like a pickup window and seating inside and outside and serving customers that are not necessarily, you know, members or patrons of the commercial, the recreational facility, then that would be the same for any other establishment. We would have to let them also put a coffee window and have tables outside.
To the general extent, yes.
See, I find that very problematic.
Could we just stipulate that this is just being grandfathered in for this application?
You could do that.
And in no way are we, granting any additional relief.
And I can even
to her very valid point.
I can even include that in the resolution.
Yeah.
The board felt
This is a
like-
unique situation, because it's been in existence for X number of years. We don't want to harm these.
As long as they're not changing
Right.
that at this point. That was Mr. Chembulak's point, and I think if they're trying to increase that use, then I think we're unable to do that. But because there is no change to what they have been doing, whether that's what Mr. DiCarlo envisioned or not, but that's.
All right. The only problem is there is no coffee bar use because the use is just falling under the gym as an accessory.
Well,
So by expanding the gym, you are expanding the coffee bar, right? I mean, they are one and the same, right? It's not a
But not in size,
multi-use.
not in size, presumably in volume.
Right.
I would say it's become less accessory.
And once again, thinking down the road, I mean, God,
more space,
they may turn around in
same
5 years from now and sell the business to somebody else. And somebody else may have a different idea of how they want to reconfigure the space. So I just want it to stay the way it is.
Are
And that
we
somebody would have to-
grandfathering because they didn't read the letter? Or, like, because the letter was sent, right? So, you know, when homeowners come in here and they do things wrong, we force them to fix it, right? I'm just trying to, like, be fair. And I'm not saying that my interpretation of this letter could be wrong, right?
Yeah.
But
Good point.
if we just say this letter stands, right? And let whoever's supposed to interpret the letter, then I'm fine with it. But I don't want to rewrite it. I don't
Okay.
want to.
Because, no, you're right, because then we're endorsing it, right?
Right, because we didn't see that traffic, parking, and all accommodate the current use.
No determination has ever been made on that.
What's that?
No determination has ever been made on that, on those issues.
Right.
I think we just leave it be.
Just leave, yeah, I'm fine with that too, right? You just, the letter stands and whoever has to enforce it enforces it. But we're not providing an opinion on this letter. I mean,
Well,
I don't know who's supposed to enforce this.
okay, just for your record, the way it gets enforced is the zoning officer goes and looks at it and sends the letter to the applicant, and the applicant gets their attorney, and they come back to the zoning board.
I mean, I think they're not in compliance with the letter, my opinion.
Right, and one of the conditions of approval of the expansion and the D3 could be they have to be in compliance with the letter. What council is saying is that letter clear enough to give them direction, or should we be providing greater direction as to what is considered the pluses and minuses that make an accessory use?
Could you just say, as a condition of improvement, it's limited to the current configuration? Would that be a,
Absolutely.
an easy way of doing it? Rather than get into the weeds on 4,000 things?
Right.
So it's your position that if we were to do that, any other kind of business can't try to rely on that for the purpose of implementing their own accessory use?
Correct, because we are not opining as to Mr. DiCarlo's determination, and in fact, the zoning officer now, which I will put in also, zoning officer disagrees, so there was a hearing because of that disagreement essentially, and they got the relief that they requested.
Okay.
Okay, conditions on event space.
Well, events are not allowed, so what would we condition? That they're not allowed to do something that's not allowed?
So wouldn't that be up to the zoning office to enforce the existing regulations on events? Are there any, Kathleen?
Well, given that there was testimony that there had been some events, I think it's appropriate to put in the conditions that there shall be no events. Okay. Now, with that, we have to define like a certain number of people. Like, you don't want them not to have a gathering of 8 people. I mean, like.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, that went to my question. So if it then turns, we get classified into the grouping of commercial rent, if they get classified into the grouping of commercial recreational facility, which includes health clubs, day spas, gyms, fitness centers, and the such, as with their testimony, if they have health related group event, like group gatherings, are they still within kind of a permissible use of that then? Like, is that what you're kind of leaning at?
Exactly. And also you might want to consider times. Given the nature of the development there, do you really care to restrict, group events on a Saturday night. Maybe it's a good, I'm not suggesting it is or not, but maybe it's a good place for event space. So do you really want to restrict it then?
Well, maybe have them on Sunday when there's somebody else open.
Right.
If something to that effect.
Same question to council, then how is that going to impact other applicants that come before this board and want to hold events in places in our town?
That's a good point. Because event space is not, the only reason that it's a topic this evening is because there was testimony that they've had. So.
So I guess my question is, so it would be not, if they hosted non-compound related events, like for fee, then that's what would constitute an event space? I'm just trying to understand like if they made themselves available to host non-compound related events for a fee, then that would constitute an event space.
Right, and that really should be a separate variance application.
Okay, thank you. That's what I just wanted to clear in my head.
I feel that that's all the constitutes of the event, though. I feel like.
Well, that's why
and that's
it should be a separate
minimum.
application.
I'd rather just say no events.
That's what-
And let the applicant comply with that and not compliant, the zoning officer.
They have to come up for a separate variance, you're saying, for that. Okay. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, we seem to have worked our way through this. Is there anyone who can create a motion that includes the approval of the D2 variance to create a commercial, for a commercial recreation space, to expand the commercial recreation space and condition it?
I would make a motion to approve that, Mr. Chairman, to approve the variance, subject to the conditions regarding, that our attorney will stipulate.
How about
I have to express, what have we got down there, Greg?
That the accessory use stays within the same configuration.
Yes, right, yes.
And no events.
And that there be
And no
no
events. Is that a proper?
Be clear, does
motion?
the same configuration mean the 88 square feet, or is it something else?
Well, it's not 88, it's the same, I can word something to.
I just want to be clear.
No more table, but same number of chairs, same number of stools, same number of square feet, right?
Have we had testimony on actually how many tables, how many chairs there were, though? I mean,
There are some pictures.
How to say it?
okay.
It's an interpretation.
I would leave it to the inside of the building, because you could also make an argument from the outside that the tables and chairs are also used by the patrons of the fitness.
Yeah, I'm limited to the square
Are we going,
footage.
are we going to address the tables and chairs that are outside, or is that not within our purview?
Again, I don't think it's anything worth addressing.
It's not a public street, so it doesn't really fall within any of our ordinances, right?
We just say it's an accessory use, like, why are we now saying these number of chairs and tables? Because that now goes against the letter, and
We
we're,
just said, they're the same, remain the same configuration and square.
just say accessory, not anything that's there, right?
Okay.
And whether the sign is going to remain.
Or they have to, you're looking for perhaps a separate variance.
Well, the sign should just be compliant with the
Sign
letter,
should be compliant.
the ordinance.
We've had a lot of problems with people with signs, though, and they we've denied a lot of signs because they don't comply with our requirements. I don't want to necessarily set a precedent that allows that relief without a variance for that.
Approving the sign would not set a precedence, because every sign that comes before us is unique in its own right.
There's also no construction on the side. And so you also have to, that particularly be attached to it.
Well, that's where I guess you look at the construction official.
So we're,
Have to apply for a sign, and it has to comply in design, concurrent code design.
code, comply.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Have to apply for sign approval for the, on the awning, and it has to
Building
comply with the
department.
current code. As Kathleen said, she didn't even get a permit for erecting that sign, so we don't even know how it's attached to the building.
So are we allowed to have a sign as long as it complies with the?
Well, that's what you
warning
can
sign
decide,
variance
just,
that Kathleen decided in her letter today?
The current sign, it does not go with the ordinance. It would need a variance to
Right.
have that sign.
right.
So
But you gave an example of a sign that does comply with the ordinance?
it's an awning, so you can't, so when there's the coffee up here and the letter, you can't have anything on the top. You just have lettering on the bottom.
So you either have to bring it into, but you also need to apply for a permit.
But we need to get a permit.
Building permit.
But we would be allowed to have a sign as long as it complies with the ordinance that you cited in your letter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Because then we would go for building permits, just so that it's covered on their end as well.
Okay, Mr. Ryan, you made a motion. How do we stand?
I would still make the motion with the stipulations that we have just outlined to Mr. Nacera.
Okay.
If you could maybe summarize those first.
Yes, please.
That the board approves the D2 variance and will define the use as a commercial recreational space. There will be the configuration of the accessory coffee bar will remain the same. The applicant will apply for a sign and obtain a building permit for the awning sign. And there will be no events allowed.
No events.
But they can they apply
They
for
can apply
variance?
for variance later for events.
Could we be allowed to, if there was a need to reconfigure the space, but not be any more than the 88 feet that was approved? They wanted to.
It wasn't the 88 feet just referring to the bar. I thought that the overall, space for the coffee shop is much bigger than 88 square feet in the lounge. I mean, I'm content just leaving it the way it is.
Yeah. Cal?
Can she clarify that? That's fine.
If you don't mind.
I'm trying to understand the coffee configuration. So the coffee shop is not changing in size. We would not change it in size. The coffee bar, just the way that it is, we were just gonna go a different direction. So it's not changing at all in size, but
The coffee bar will still be 88 square feet?
I would imagine, I
Maybe
mean,
the same coffee bar, but you would just move it.
yeah, in the same exact room. It's not has anyone been to this coffee shop? It's not, thank you, Scott, by the way. It's not a shop where you're going in and like, there's bar seating or anything like that. It's an order and go. That's what it is. There's no seating in that room. So the coffee configuration would not change.
I went to your coffee shop, ordered coffee and a muffin, and I sat at a table in your lounge, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm talking
totally-
about the coffee shop,
Yes,
though.
okay, well, but the coffee shop and the lounge are contiguous.
The lounge is part, no, there's a wall and a door. The lounge is also part of this.
Okay, but you walk out and you can still sit in the lounge and drink your
Understood.
coffee.
I just
and-
meant the actual coffee bar because he was talking about the configuration of the 88 square feet. We were going to change that, just that configuration, but not make it any
But not
larger.
the size of it.
Right.
Okay.
Moving things around.
Is that reconfiguration on A3?
Yep.
Yes.
It's just basically straightening instead of the diagonal thing that it is now.
Are we looking to make sure that the plans include that
Well,
configuration?
yeah, they do, but it doesn't look like it's the same size to me, like at all. So I just want to make sure the board is understanding what it is
Well,
approving.
the applicant just confirmed it will be the same 88 square feet.
So then this plan then is not accurate to what she stated.
The accuracy of the plan, the applicant just said it will be 88 square feet,
Okay.
right?
Right now, it's an L, and it's just going to go straight across. It's the same, the bar actually might be smaller. It's on the plans.
On A3.
If we were allowing it with the existing like non-conforming, right, where you don't touch it, you allow it, but now you're touching it, that means you do have to bring it up to code, right? I mean, you bring it up to the zoning,
It's not expanding.
Bob?
Also raise issues about like if you're serving food and like now there's inspections that have to be done related to food establishments. I mean, I think this opens a whole can
We are
of-
making a mountain out of a molehill here. This really is a non-issue. Okay, if we keep it in, can we say keep it in the layout in the current room that it is, and we don't specify anything about the size of the counter?
Thank you, Scott.
Scott, you're basically saying as long as they comply with the same square footage?
Yes,
That's what
but we know what they want to do with it, right? Like, why not just have them present the use with the proper traffic and parking and present it back to us? Like,
be helpful. I think we're trying to be helpful and get you where you want to be, right?
Oh, you
But
are?
now I feel, yeah, but now I feel like there's all the stuff that's changing that was represented to us is not change, is not going to change, but so it's concerning.
My recommendation, because of the concern, would be that that space remains the way it is. Because there was not a application to change that space, as you said, Mr. Chebulak, you never, that wasn't part of this application, and I think that was part of the persuasion to get this board
We're not.
to grant approval. So I think it's fair to say it stays the way it is.
It's not changing, I don't know.
That's the way the motion is at the moment.
It's the way it is on the plan, so that stays the way it is on the plan? That's what we're saying, correct? Or are you saying something, because Steven's confused, I'm confused. We're not trying to change anything differently.
Staying the way it is what the board has decided. Mr. Chebulak, please, clients, this is not a renegotiation. I mean, right.
We're just asking questions for clarification. I mean, I think that just so that we understand what we don't know.
Right.
Stays the way it is.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak just for a second?
At this point, we are really in our discussion of whether or not we're going to vote to approve this or not. We're finished the discussion, we're finished the engagement. This is board deliberation. And at this point, we have a motion on the floor, which I believe Mr. Ryan was to accept the D2 variance, approve the D2 variance for commercial recreational space expansion, and to condition it with the coffee bar auxiliary accessory use to stay the same as it currently is, and for it to comply with building codes for the sign, and to there'll be no events. It cannot be used as an event space.
Is that close to what we were looking at?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Scott. All right, we're going to need a roll call vote on that one. Dee Dee?
Okay, Dr. Rees?
I'm not quite sure whether I'm ready to vote.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yes, under these conditions, yes.
Dr. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy Braddix?
Yes.
Mr. Mathewson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
Chairman McGinley?
No.
And Mr. Kelly's not voting.
Okay, by my count, the motion passed. Council will draw up a resolution, which we will review at our next regular meeting, which should be October, PD? November. Our next meeting is October, next week. November.
You got to change this thing.
Thank you, Counselor. That's it. Okay, if where the heck did I lose? There it is. No.
Danny teaches my wife. She said she doesn't teach. Huh?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Right now?
I want to thank the board for coming tonight. Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have down to application number 2, application 2025-09, 3 Claridge Drive.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Pleasure to be here. I represent.
Have you been here
that we
before,
should be able-
Counsel?
I'm sorry?
Have you been here before?
I'm not on this side of the table in a long time, not in probably 40 years, believe that or not. So I think we can get it done in a half hour if that's okay with everybody.
Excuse me, Dr. Rees is recusing,
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And
and Ms. DiBartolo
Ms.
is
DiBartolo's come back.
come back. Join the team.
That's like a game.
Shall I proceed?
Counsel, ball's in your court.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you know, my name is Robert Gassion. The firm is Gassion Pomaco. I am now located at 1 Bowling Drive in West Orange, having been there for more than 2 years now. I represent the applicant in this matter, Living Light Consulting LLC. My client is seeking to convert 3,581 feet of office space in an existing one-story commercial building. She's seeking to convert to commercial recreation. No coffee bar included. The property has been subject to previous site plan and variance approvals. There's 3 different variance approvals at this site. The approximately 4,000 remaining square feet will continue to be occupied by the existing office uses. The property is located in an A3 zone, and the proposed use is not permitted, nor did any of the previous approvals allow for the proposed use. The applicant is seeking major site plan approval and a D1 variance and a parking variance. The witnesses you'll hear from are Mara Scott, the applicant, and Paul Sionis, the architect and planner. I like to call him Scott. Mara?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
And your name and address for the record?
My name is Mara Scott. I live at 135 Grove Street in Montclair.
Ms. Scott, by whom are you employed?
I am self-employed.
And your expected business address?
3 Claridge Drive, Suite 3 in Verona.
What is your occupation?
I have been a massage therapist for 20 years, and I currently teach Pilates yoga classes full-time.
Does the applicant have a lease for 3 Claridge Drive, Verona?
Yes,
Did you receive from the zoning office a letter of denial which responded to your request for use?
I did, on my first day of spring break in Aruba. It's not great timing.
Does that letter properly describe your business and the business of the proposed subtenants?
Yes,
Do you have experience with this type of business?
I do. I have opened 2 boutique fitness studios and was the general manager for one of them for 2 years.
Would you please describe the proposed business briefly and those of your subtenants?
So my particular business is I teach movement to primarily 55 and older. I teach a mat class and then a chair class. It's the same modality. It combines yoga, Pilates, systematic stretching, helps to improve balance, coordination, strength, posture, mobility, stability. I've been teaching for the past 4 years full-time, all semi-private classes. And then the subtenants who have signed on in March, we have a massage therapist, a Reiki practitioner, Pilates reformer, and then another yoga therapist.
Now, do you have any other teacher in your business?
No.
How many potential subtenants are there?
4.
And what will you explain what we'll do? Work. Just specifically say it one more time.
Specifically what they're each going to be doing?
What they'll be teaching, yes.
So massage therapy, most people are pretty familiar with that. I've known her for 20 years. She's super reputable, professional. She was my massage therapist way back. There will be a Reiki practitioner who does different kinds of energy healing. That one's a little bit more out there, but if you know, you know. And Pilates reformer.
Will they each have a separate space?
Yes, everyone has their own office.
And all part of the 3,000 plus square feet?
Correct.
Will there be a maximum of 2 subtenants at any one time?
Their schedules will be staggered for quality control and sound control there, and luckily it works out, so there will not be more than 2 subtenants there at a time.
What is the earliest anybody will be there?
I will probably arrive at 8 a.m. some days. I will teach at 9, possibly some days at 10. And then the afternoon will be more for the appointments of the subtenants. And as far as I know, they will be done by 8 p.m.
Okay. Would you be able to estimate the total number of hours per subtenant per week?
About 10 hours per week. It's a part-time location for each of them.
And okay, you answered my question.
Oh.
Do they have other locations?
Yes.
Can you guess the number of customers at any one time for each of these, or can you tell us the number of customers for each of these subtenants?
For my classes, there will be a 10-person max capacity. I really try to keep it nice and personal so everyone gets individualized attention. That's kind of the nature of my business. And then for the subtenants, their work is one-on-one.
Now, where do you, one-on-one, right?
Yes.
Where do you expect your customers or clients will come from?
So I actually teach at the Claridge. I've been teaching there for the past 4 years. I have a pretty vibrant community there of students. So half of them will be coming from the Claridge. They're very excited. And I also teach at the Four Seasons in Cedar Grove and have also been there for the past 4 years, sometimes 4, 5, 6 times a week.
So you expect most of your clients are coming from the Four Seasons and the Claridge?
Yes, and I also have some clients in Montclair and then also Wayne, where my family's from.
Now, if I told you there's 600 living accommodations at the Claridge, would that be accurate?
Let's say it again.
If I told you there are 600 living accommodations at the Claridge, do you think that's accurate?
Is that between both buildings?
Both buildings?
Sounds about right.
You don't know.
I actually don't really know.
I'll put that testimony in through the planner. Will all the subtenants, you're repeating this, but will all the subtenants have their customers by appointment?
Absolutely.
I have no further questions.
Does the board have questions of this witness?
Are any of your services covered by health insurance?
Unfortunately not.
Is that a personal question?
It could be. It could be like a zoning question. I meet the age requirement. If you decided to embarrass me, fortunately it's 10 to 11, and nobody really cares.
We're all a little delirious at this point.
But no, it is a serious question. And you mentioned massage therapists. I do currently, and full disclosure, I have a massage therapist. Does New Jersey now have a licensing procedure for massage therapists? Because at one point they didn't.
They've had a licensing procedure for many years.
Many years now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Over probably like about 14 years.
Okay, but
Yeah.
I've been billing longer than that. And
Yes.
The massage therapist I use has a New York certification.
Correct.
But
And
just,
I have as well, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Years ago, when I was in a different capacity, I remember a massage therapy place called Pilgrim Plaza, and they had
Well,
like,
we don't want to talk about that anymore.
I know, but I don't know anything about it, but when they got originally allowed to go, they had like,
There's a few other services they provide.
Can you just clarify that, how do you anticipate your clients that live in Claridge getting to this location? Do you anticipate
The
them?
majority of them will be walking. A few of them, I do have some clients that are late into their 80s that have walkers and they come to my chair yoga class. So they've already kind of discussed how they're going to take one car down together with the aid driving.
So your clients will be coming both from Claridge and from outside of?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, there's also some proposed resolution on the table in the council, by the way, right now, to increase fees for such services, FYI.
Wait, what does
That's
that
a
mean?
tangent.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
You'll have to take a look at the council meeting from the other night.
Okay.
Go watch that.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, is there anyone?
Actually, so you said it's offices or office space in the other locations. What type of professional services are provided there?
There's a realtor, and then there is a financial services company that has one person that comes in a few times a week, and then the rest of them work remotely, and then the realtor is pretty much retired at this point, so it's a pretty sleepy building.
So
they've been there for a while.
Yeah,
Okay, would you say
The
the
realtor-
parking lot is mostly unused?
yes.
The realtor's been there, I don't want to testify, although I can tell you it's a long time. She, one woman, has been there for a long time.
And these aren't the Claridge House Management offices, are they?
It's Claridge Realty is the sign, but it's unaffiliated with the Claridge houses. She just lives there and kind of gave it the name, which looks like it's the official, yeah.
If you know the people there, her name is Barbara Amato.
Is there anyone from the public who wants to ask?
Yeah, I just have one more
Still guys
question.
asking?
I don't know what the zone limitations are, but for sake of my own safety purposes, the conference meeting room and or the yoga studio, no alternative purposes for profit generation through alternative means such as event spaces or anything, event rentals, or anything of that nature?
Are you asking if I'm going to use the conference room for renting it out?
Yes.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Although now I will definitely do my research if I ever want to hold like a holiday event or something and make sure that I have a permit. So that was educational.
This may be for the next person, the witness, but is the space you're going to use currently unoccupied?
Yes.
Okay.
Has the board finished asking questions of the witness? I'll ask, is there anyone from the public who would like to question the witness?
Mom? No.
She's-
Bueller?
She's under oath. You might have some questions you want to ask. Seeing none. Counsel, move on to your...
Thank you. Mr. Sionis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just have the exhibits after I get sworn in.
Yeah, might as well. I'll do it. Wait, you gotta get sworn in, I'll do it.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
I do.
You state your name and business address for the record.
My name is Paul Sionis. My business address is 7 Oak Place, Montclair, New Jersey.
Why don't you get the copies with this?
Sure.
How many you got here?
Typically, we do. I'll speak to the microphone.
You got these already, are they new ones?
Mr. Sionis, would you review your qualifications as a architect?
Yes.
Mr. Gassion, if we could mark these for, we just,
Yeah, mark them. I guess A1, you didn't mark the application as anything, right?
no.
So A1, if you would, please, counsel.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Exhibit A1 will be a
PowerPoint presentation.
PowerPoint presentation dated October 9th, 2025, GSAPC.
Correct.
Thank you. And as I said, just briefly review your qualifications as an architect.
I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I've been licensed since 1982. I owned Sionis Architecture from 1984 until last October when I sold it and merged it to with Gregory Schweitzer Architecture. So now I'm part of GSAPC. So I have approximately...
And you've testified previously before this board on a number of occasions.
Yes, I have.
And you're accepted as an expert in the field of architecture.
Yes, I was.
And just briefly tell us your qualifications as a planner.
I'm a licensed planner in the state of New Jersey. My planning license is current. I've been a licensed planner since 1985. Between architecture, planning, and landscape architecture, I've testified about 300 times in different towns and cities in New Jersey.
And can you please review the application?
Sure. This is an application for for Mara Scott to occupy Suite 3 at 3 Claridge Drive. She intends to change the use of Suite 3. Suite 3 is currently vacant. It was previously a business services, as it was called, and they mostly provided lien filing services for law firms and other companies. That space has been vacant for a while. We don't know how long it's been vacant. But the purpose of Mara Scott utilizing this space is to make it into a wellness center, which fits it within the description of commercial recreation in Verona's ordinance. No changes are proposed to the building, not one change to the interior, no changes to the site. However, a use variance is required because the zone that this property is in is the A3 residential townhouse zone. And the only thing that's permitted in this zone are single-family houses as permitted principal uses or townhomes as conditional uses. The subject property has been the recipient of 3 use variances since 1978. So anytime anyone went into this building and wanted to either have a use that was not high-rise residential or now single-family residential or townhouse, they had to come before this board to get a use variance. So that's happened 3 times since 1978.
And could you briefly review the site itself?
Sure. Basically, let me just backtrack a bit. So we usually do PowerPoint presentations at zoning and planning boards. It's gotten pretty popular at planning and zoning boards. So since we don't have a screen or a projector here, we've made copies of the PowerPoint and passed it out for everyone. And basically, the PowerPoint is a compilation of what's on the drawings that were filed, but we're able to enhance it with additional photographs and notes that wouldn't be on those drawings. So as far as the site goes, I'll refer to page 2. The site is 3 Claridge Drive. It's lot 3 within block 103. It's on the Claridge Drive, which is a private drive that goes from Pompton Avenue or Route 23 to the west, all the way up to this subject property, plus Claridge House 1 and Claridge 2. Claridge House 1 was completed in 1965. Claridge House 2 was completed in 1975. And between those two buildings, there's approximately 610 dwelling units between those two buildings. Lot 1 within the same block is the Pilgrim Shopping Center that fronts onto Pompton Avenue, Route 23, down to the west.
Continue with your description of the site, please.
Sure. As far as the site goes, if you look at slide 3 or page 3, the site's approximately 3/4 of an acre. It's irregular shaped. It's basically 0.76 of an acre. It's located on the north side of Claridge Drive, which, as I mentioned, it's a private road. It's currently improved with this one-story building, and it's also improved with an asphalt parking lot that's currently striped for 27 parking stalls, plus several walkways that lead from that parking lot into the front entry to the building, around to a side entry, and out to the Claridge Drive. The existing and most recent use of the building is office space. So as we've stated, there are 3 tenant spaces within the building. There's the Realtor's office, which is Claridge Realty, and then there's the financial services office, and then this subject tenant space is vacant, and that's the space that the applicant intends to occupy. It was indicated to me by the current president of the Claridge, Stephen Grainberg, that the building was originally built as sales offices for the Claridges, and that the building included 3 models, a 1-bedroom model, a 2-bedroom model, and a 3-bedroom model. And over the years, these got converted to office space. So beginning in 1978, other uses were proposed for tenancies within this building, and each of them required a use variance because office space was never and is still not allowed in this building. And the model units were no longer needed, and the property was and is in a residential zone district. So previously it was in an A2 high-rise residential district, and now it's in an A3 residential and townhouse district. As you're aware, if you've been to the site, the property slopes from right to left or from east to west. And with this proposal, no changes are proposed to the site or the parking area. The next, okay. So the next page is page 4, existing photographs taken by me back in August. The photograph on the left and in the center is the existing front facade of the building that faces Claridge Drive. The 2 photographs on the right are photographs of that existing parking lot, which is striped for 27 parking stalls. The next page, page 5, is the existing floor plan. So this is a 1-story building with a partial basement. The basement has utilities and storage. The main entrance to the building is where I have the blue arrow, and that's off of Claridge Drive. The building, as I stated, contains 3 tenant suites. The suite 1 is the real estate office that has 909 square feet. Suite 2 is a financial services firm. It has 2,614 square feet. And then suite 3 is the subject of this application, which is 3,581 square feet. And as I said, it's currently vacant, and based on the sign on the door and me looking at the website, it was Continental Corporate Services, which according to the website, they assisted law firms and corporations in lien filing. So the applicant, which is Living Light Consulting, doing businesses Elevated Wellness, proposes to occupy suite 3 exactly as it is. No changes are proposed, and the intent is to use it as a wellness center. Next page, page 6, is a partial first floor plan, an enlargement of the first floor plan. As I said, suite 3 is proposed as the wellness center, and the proposal is to use it exactly as it is with no changes. Several of the current office spaces will be subtenants. So rooms labeled 304, 305, 311, and 313 in particular will be subtenants, and each of the businesses, as indicated to me by the applicant, will operate on a one-to-one basis, so one practitioner to one client. The subtenant schedules, as indicated by the applicant, will all be scheduled, and they'll be by appointment only. And the main yoga studio, which is labeled Room 318, will have an average from 5 to 10 participants, and that will be led by Mara Scott, the applicant. In changing this from an office use, which was a B use in the building code, to this wellness center use, which is a A or assembly use, the building code limits the number of occupants who could utilize this space, and it limits it to a maximum of 49, primarily by the fact that it has one exit. So because of that one exit, the maximum by code allowed in this space is 49. Mara Scott indicated that her intent is never to have 49 people, but most likely the building department can ask for a plaque to be put inside this space, indicating that the maximum occupancy is 49. The Verona Rescue Squad provided a letter, which we received today, suggesting that the swing of the door, the entry door marked by the green triangle on this plan, swing in rather than out, and it would give them better access for emergency stretcher access. I checked the building code to see if that was allowed, and it said that if the occupancy load is greater than 50, it has to swing in the direction of egress, but since this occupancy would be limited to 49 or less, it's allowed to swing in as asked for by the Verona Rescue Squad, so that's fine. Next page, page 7, 3 additional photographs taken by me back in August. Picture on the left is the existing lobby. Picture in the center is the open space that's labeled Room 318, which will be the yoga studio. And then the picture on the right is looking from that yoga studio into the office that Mara Scott will use. So as you can see, it looks like a typical office space with a reflected ceiling, and it's been used as an office, as far as we could tell, back to the variance request in 1978. Next, page 8, those are existing conditions also of the interior. Left to right is existing offices, which is one of the proposed subtenant spaces. The center is a hallway. It's just a wide open hallway. And then there's a large storage closet within the facility.
Would you review the parking in the site plan?
Okay. The previous office space that's in Suite 3, the suite that's now vacant, had a parking requirement of 21.486 parking stalls, and that's based on Verona's ordinance of 6 parking stalls for every 1,000 square feet of office space. With this proposal, it's actually less of a parking requirement. For commercial recreation, there's a requirement of 1 stall per 250 square feet. So 14.343 parking stalls are required with this, and 21.486 were required with the previous office use. So with this proposal, 7 less parking spaces are required by code. There are 27 parking spaces on site. With this proposal, a total of 38 parking spaces are required for all of the uses in the building. So the other 2 offices plus this wellness center. So 38 are required. There's 27 existing striped spaces. The previous uses had a requirement of 45. So we're decreasing the parking requirement by 7 parking spaces.
Mr. Simons, would you review the zoning chart?
Sure. So we're looking at page 10. So as I stated, a use variance is required for this proposed use, since the property is located in the A3 zone, which only allows single-family dwelling units as principal uses or townhouses as conditional uses. As I've said, the wellness center is similar to a commercial recreation category in the zoning ordinance. There's existing bulk variances that are non-conforming, and those are shown on the zoning chart on page 10. They're to remain, and some of those include the front yard setback So it's an existing building, that's not changing. Minimum rear yard setback, that's non-conforming. Maximum lot coverage, which is the size of the building based on the, compared with the size of the property, and maximum improved lot coverage. So those are existing non-conforming conditions that will remain.
And you say non-conforming, all previously approved by previous zoning applications?
Correct. And then just continuing on zoning on page 11. So just to repeat again, this is in an A3 zone. The only thing that's permitted are single-family dwellings as a principal use. Townhouses are permitted as conditional uses at, I think, eight units per acre. This wellness center requires a use variance, and there's also a parking variance request, even though the proposed wellness center will decrease the parking requirement by 7 spaces. Also, there are the bulk variances that I just mentioned. There are existing non-conforming conditions which will remain. And then as far as the zoning history of this property, the Claridge 1 was built in 1965. As I said, Claridge 2 was built in 1975. 3 Claridge Drive was constructed around the same time. We don't have the exact date. I've actually filed an OPA request a week or 2 ago with Verona to find out when this was built. I haven't received a reply. I asked Mr. Greenberg, who's the president of the Claridges. He doesn't know, but it's got to be, if it was used as model units for these buildings, it had to be built around the same time as those other 2 buildings. As far as the zoning history, 3 variances were applied over the years, use variances, starting in 1978. So 1978, a resolution was memorialized by this zoning board to limit the tenancies to attorneys, medical doctors and dentists, insurance office, accounting office, answering services, travel agency, and rental office. Then in 1987, an application was applied to the zoning board again, and a resolution was approved to amend that previous resolution from 1978, limiting the uses to attorneys, bank, advertising, and marketing firm. And the big thing at the time was that Pilgrim Bank became a tenant in this building, so Pilgrim had to get a use variance from this board to occupy part of this building. 1995, resolution again was memorialized to modify the previous uses from the 1987 resolution, and then it was limited to banks, advertising, and marketing firms. And then in 2015, the Township Council amended the zoning ordinance and the zoning map, and the subject property became labeled as Lot 3 within Block 103 and became part of the A3 zoning district, and previously it was the A2 zoning district. So A3 is, again, to repeat, single-family permitted use and townhouses as conditional use. A2 previously was only high-rise residential use. So
would you please review those zoning conditions?
Oh, sure. Okay. We turn to page 12. As far as zoning goes, no zoning relief can be granted without showing that the use could be granted without substantial detriment to the public good, and that it will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. We also have to show that there are special reasons for the grant of the variance and no substantial detriment to the public good. As I stated, there have been 3 use variance applications approved for this subject property since 1978, and the township has still not changed the zoning of this to allow commercial uses on this property. Instead, in 2015, they changed the zoning ordinance from the high-rise residential to single-family residential. So because of this, it causes this applicant to come here to seek a variance to use this as a wellness center or anything other than a single-family house. The adjoining Lot 2 to the northwest of this property is a large parcel. It's 10.93 acres. It's undeveloped, and it's in the same A3 zone. I looked at the Verona 4th round housing element and fair share plan, which is endorsed by the Township Council back in June 23rd. And it stated that Lot 2 is also owned by the Claridges. It notes that the township received a letter from the Claridges indicating that the Claridge's preference was to pursue sale of the parcel, the 10.93 acres, to the township to preserve for open space through the New Jersey Green Acres program. This hasn't happened yet, but it's in the record that Claridge has reached out to the township to pursue preserving this as open space. So the land is undeveloped, and since the stated goal of the owner is to preserve it as open space, the Wellness Center will not have a negative impact on that lot or on any of the surrounding properties and those in the immediate vicinity of this property, nor will it substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. Excuse me. So whether the 10.93 acres remains as open space, or even if it becomes single-family housing in the future or townhouses, the Wellness Center, in my opinion, will have no negative impact on that adjacent property. This is an unusual property, in my opinion. It's a small, irregular-shaped lot located on a private drive next to two structures that contain over 600 dwelling units, and also that undeveloped 10.93 acre lot. In my opinion, this one-story vacant office space within this one-story building is well suited for the proposed use. The existing interior layout works well for the proposed tenant. Participants will come by appointment on prearranged schedule only. Everything in the interior is to remain exactly as it is today. No changes are proposed for the exterior or to the site plan. So we'll go.
Is there an argument that this is an inherently beneficial use?
Yes, there is. So the proposed wellness center constitutes an evolution of the last three variance requests, and that were memorialized. It continues to encourage the most appropriate use of the land, and actually by not changing the building or the site, it promotes a desirable visual environment, and that no changes will be made. It's actually an attractive building. It was well done. It's well built. I've walked through it. So no changes are proposed, and therefore it promotes a desirable visual environment. The use will have no impact on neighbors. The site and the building are particularly suited to this use. It's on the north side of a private road. It has easy access. The tenants will have easy access to that 27-car parking lot. They won't even have to cross the street. The building already has an interior layout that works well with no changes. Users of this facility could park their cars, enter the building safely. There appears to be ample on-site parking for the users, especially in the fact that the proprietor will have everything, will control the number of users because it will all be based on an appointment basis only. The applicant indicated that many users already live in Claridge 1 and can easily walk here. Also, this use provides for an alternative type of preventative health care and health maintenance that the office uses in this building, the residents of Claridge 1 and maybe Claridge 2 in the future could take advantage of. Other members of the community could take advantage of this facility by appointment. 4 to 5 of those current office spaces will be used for one-to-one training on a staggered schedule. So in my opinion, the general welfare is promoted not only from the use itself, but from the continued fine-tuning and evolution of the uses that have already been approved for this building. The use is inherently beneficial since it promotes preventative health care and provides for the well-being of residents in the community. The tenant will promote good health, resulting in a benefit to the public good. So therefore, it meets the positive criteria. It serves the zoning purpose of promoting general welfare. Also, to repeat again, I'm still on. My light just went out. It must be time to stop.
Just briefly discussing special reasons.
Okay, so based on the review of the characteristics of the proposed uses, considering the characteristics, sorry for going fast, but it's late. Considering the characteristics of the surrounding uses and the previous approvals, I conclude there are special reasons that are present which warrant approval of the application. So there's a special reason, letter A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Thanks. Special reason G is to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses, both public and private, according to the respective environmental requirements in order to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. So this provides efficient space for this particular use And as I stated, it actually promotes a desirable visual environment because we're not touching the building, we're not touching the site, we're not touching any of the landscaping. So it's an attractive building and it's a well-kept site, as is typical of the Claridge properties.
And a brief review
yeah.
of the negative criteria.
All right, so relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. Granting this approval will not substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. The building has contained non-conforming uses for 47 years now, so since 1978, including office uses and a bank. According to the township records, there's never been a conforming single-family dwelling or townhouse within this building or on the property. As I said, the property is well-maintained, and there's no reason to think that it will not continue to be well-maintained based on the reputation that the Claridges have for their property. In my opinion, this low-intensity wellness center use will not adversely affect the character of the neighborhood, the surrounding properties, or affect the previous approvals granted for this site. And importantly, there'll be no noxious odors coming from this facility. And also, since it's not a gym, there'll be no loud noises coming from the facility. The largest space will be the yoga studio, which is different than a gym. It's a quiet space. Facility will not lead to traffic congestion that would affect any neighbors. And then the last thing is enhanced quality of proof. The variance sought is not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the master plan and the zoning ordinance. So the lot is within that zone A3. As I said, it's zoned for single-family housing, even though it's been improved with a non-conforming use for at least 40 years. In 2015, the governing body amended the ordinance and the tax map to include this subject property and the 10.93 acres behind it. And they changed it to the A3 single-family townhouse zone district. In my opinion, I think the governing body anticipated that maybe the 10.93 acres plus this lot would be developed for single-family homes or townhouses. However, it's been indicated that the township's currently building a pump station with a generator on that 10.93 acres. And additionally, as I stated, an arrangement for Green Acres preservation of the 10 acres has been discussed between the Claridges and the township, but no agreement has been reached as of the date. Zoning ordinance omits this use, this wellness center use, this commercial recreation from this A3 zone, but zoning requires that anything other than a single-family house or a townhouse not be allowed on the site without coming before this board to seek a variance request. And that's what the applicant is doing tonight.
And would you tell the board your conclusion about this application?
Right. My conclusion that the use works well within the building and on the site. No changes are proposed for the building and the site. I think that we're not removing a conforming use to install a non-conforming use. The Wellness Center is only one half of this building. It will contribute to the health of the community based on the uses that are proposed. The benefits of granting the use variance clearly outweigh any potential detriments associated with the use, and I feel that the board can be confident to grant the use variance that's proposed.
No further questions of Mr. Sionis.
Thank you, Mr. Sionis.
Thank you.
Well laid out and
Thank you.
extensively detailed.
Sorry for so quick, but to speak so quickly.
We tried to be.
We appreciate that. You didn't have any choices with him sitting next to you. Does the board have any questions of the architect professional planner?
I do have a couple questions. Okay, so just for the record, this is a commercial recreation use, not necessarily a wellness center, as is indicated on the drawing, right?
Right. There's no definition of wellness center in the Verona ordinance.
Okay. So assuming, because we have to approve the use and not the specifics of her business model, in your opinion, if the entirety of this space were commercial recreational use, would it still not exacerbate the parking requirement?
Correct. The parking requirement, if the entire building was commercial recreation, the parking requirement would be less.
And then just real quick, just a point of clarification on page 6 of your packet. It's my understanding that a wellness center, which is an A use, as long as it's under 49 occupants, is also considered a B use per the building code, in which case it does not trigger a change of use, in which case that makes sense why the building department didn't have any comments on this.
Correct. Thank you.
If I understood you correctly, you would be willing to accept the recommendation of the rescue squad to have the door swing in the opposite direction?
Absolutely.
And you're not requesting a parking variance, right?
Correct. It's an existing parking variance that we're
Existing
making better.
Is going better.
Do
we need to do that officially?
Yeah, no.
I would say we need,
Here is 7 spaces less than the previous approval.
so we're actually going to
Improved.
approve and have a variance for 27 existing, needing 38, so a variance of 11.
Before, it was 45, I believe, that we
Yep.
need.
Correct.
Good.
Variance.
Variance of 11.
I just want to have a brief summation if there are no further questions, assuming there are no further questions.
I have one other one, just related to the site plan. So I know a lot of occupants come from 1 Claridge, and there is no crosswalk there.
There's no crosswalk, correct. Oh, I stated Claridge 2. I stated Claridge 1 by mistake. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, can you repeat all that?
My students are primarily in Claridge 2, as opposed to Claridge 1.
And I
But you're correct, there is.
right, and I mistakenly said Claridge 1, and there is no crosswalk from Claridge 1 to this building.
Will you ever have clients from Claridge 1?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the hope.
Okay. In which case, do you think it makes sense to install some sort of crosswalk?
At least a
notification, something?
striping or
Something.
painted crosswalk, correct.
Yep.
There's a dropped curb on the sidewalk at the street, but that's it.
It's also my understanding that technically, the Claridges will not get any preferential treatment regarding membership, and that you're going to be open to the general public. Is that correct?
Correct.
Are there any other questions for our planner architect? Seeing none, I officially have to ask if there's anyone from the public. Seeing none,
Just a brief summation. Mr. Chairman, members, it's an A3 zone, therefore we're seeking a D1 variant, use variance, and technically a C variance for parking, even though we're improving it. We're seeking also final amended site plan approval at 3 Claridge Drive. We're putting in a business that involves wellness. It is certainly particularly suited, being on the grounds of the Claridge, numbers 1 and 2, where there are over 600 units. It is situated on a private road that leads directly to Claridge 1 and 2, and only Claridge 1 and 2. This is a 1-story block and stone building to which there will be no structural changes. There is an existing real estate office and an existing financial services business, neither of which appears to be tremendously busy. We are seeking use of approximately 3,500 square feet of vacant space. The applicant proposes to occupy the property, again, as I said before, as a wellness center. Again, we talked about the 7 less parking spaces. The existing previous approval allowed for all the bulk variances that are in existence at the present time. There are 3 previous resolutions as testified to by my planner. There are also 10+ acres immediately adjacent to this property undeveloped. We're providing wellness which is physical and social help to the people in the neighborhood and a heavy amount of elderly people. Again, repeating the same thing I said before, no change to the structure, reduction in the amount of parking violation. And this is certainly particularly suited. It's inherently beneficial because it promotes the health care and social ability of elder citizens. And I thank the board for its time and attention. I tried to go as quickly as I could.
you did a good job. I'm sure Mike Piramelli couldn't have done it any quicker.
Mr. Chairman, one just quick question. You're referring to it as a wellness center. Does the state of New Jersey recognize that as an entity? And are there any, rules and regulations to establish a wellness center? I know it's technically not part of this.
I would have to ask my client. I do not think the state of New Jersey recognizes it, but my argument is because it's a wellness center both for physical improvement, health, both mental and social, and your body improvement, it's clearly, in my opinion, inherently beneficial.
But I believe that we also had testimony that it's not mentioned anywhere in any of the town ordinances. There's no definition for it. Okay, so just
I
wanted to
believe the
clarify.
planner testified to that, that there's no definition of a wellness center, correct? The planner, I believe the planner testified to that, that there's no definition of a wellness center.
That's correct.
Okay, board deliberation. I got the sense listening to people that there weren't a lot of questions, so I'd be interested.
Yeah, I
what
mean, I
board
have no
deliberation-
issues. They're reducing the parking count, even though it's still over, but it's reduced. And even if there were too many people parking there, you're not gonna be able to go, you can't park in the street or anything, you just leave it, I guess. But you're not parking, you're not creating congestion anywhere because you're not gonna walk back all the way up this street.
It might wind up being a
So-
management issue, because if there's any overflow, they're going to wind up parking in these other areas, some of which are gated off, some of which are not. But that could be like just a management issue.
I have no issues.
And if I'm correctly stating, all of the residents in both buildings, council were notified about the, this pending application, I believe, on it.
No, I didn't announce in the beginning
Yes,
that the application was deemed complete and that notice was proper. This is a vertical building, and therefore, notice is not required to each individual unit owner. It's only required to the condominium association.
Well, there was quite an extensive list, I thought, maybe they went above and beyond, and they did notify.
The minimum, I checked, Mr. Gassion did an affidavit of service, quite extensive, and, I checked the list. But, and in fact, Mike had checked with me before just to confirm that notice did not need to go to every unit owner individually.
And the property is owned by Claridge 1 and Claridge 2, an entity of theirs.
It's a combined, another LLC, shall we say, that consists of both boards?
Both boards, and I've been in communication with the president of Claridge 1, I believe.
Well, Mr. Greenberg, I think, is two. Is that Mr. Greenberg, is he the one you were?
Yeah,
He's two.
president.
Okay, just for your order.
Mr. Amato was the president.
Yes, he was.
Proposed
I'm
about
very
it.
familiar with Mr. Amato and his presidency. I'll leave it at that.
Dethroned. He was dethroned.
Okay, I didn't hear anybody raise any immediate concerns or questions, as in some previous applications. Is everyone rolling didn't see any highlights?
I found the testimony credible, persuasive, and council's arguments to be incredibly persuasive. So I would be in favor of voting in favor of this application.
Can I make another motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the D variance without any conditions?
I would venture to throw in that crosswalk. I think
Put the crosswalk
that is, I mean,
in?
unfortunately, you can't tell from this photo, but that is quite a steep hill there, and people do fly up it and fly down it.
We can have the applicant go out with paint and do that.
I mean, that is
They
a,
have to apply to.
They don't control
I
it.
guess it's somebody else's lot. Somebody else's lot.
These are the lines in the law firm, so we can go each other.
That'd probably work a lot better than any conditions.
Yeah, it is really worth, because I worked on many projects in these buildings, and people fly up those things. Yep, especially around that corner right there, because you can't really see around it.
So I heard I heard a motion from Mr. Ryan to approve the D1 variance and the C parking variance that's required.
And then, so yeah, it's to make the inquiry about the crosswalk, and then to include the door. I think we have to list that because the testimony was.
Yep.
I know that they made mention to it, but there was significant testimony of no alterations to the.
Right.
And this says it, no alterations, so I just want to make sure that we capture that as the door.
We're going to just request that they try to put it across, that they ask.
Contact
It's
management
not-
or whatever.
Only condition is that you ask.
Right.
As nice way as you can.
I'll second that. motion.
Good, thank you. We have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call vote, Dee Dee?
Mr. Tully?
Approved.
Dr. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Murphy Braddix?
Yes.
Mr. Mathewson?
Yes.
Mrs. Di Bartolo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weston?
Yes.
And Chairman McGinley?
Yes.
Thank you for your time and attention. And
Thank
one brief historical note. I've been a resident of the town for many, many years, over 50. And I always was a land use lawyer. Back about 40 years ago, they asked me to serve as the planning board attorney because there was a lot of talk, there was going to be Claridge trade, and they didn't want Claridge trade. I wasn't even doing anything improper about it. That's how I became a board attorney.
Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. Wow.
No coffee shop.
Come visit. It's going to be amazing. You always feel elderly. No, really, no, but it just kind of happened that way. That I'm 5 and older.
Oh, absolutely.
You're welcome. Good application. It's just leaving.
Yes, you're so right.
For the record, we don't need an executive session, and I do believe I heard a motion to adjourn. So we're good.
Thank you guys.